All right, what's up, guys? Let me know if you can see and hear me all right. We'll wait for a few people to jump on the stream. Appreciate you guys jumping with. We're going to have a long haul today doing a live brew day. So, thanks to Paul, who is helping support the channel by giving me these ingredients to brew up his recipe, essentially, which is a rye pale ale. We're going to be brewing that up today. Let me know if in the comments you can see and hear me all right. Give me a little thumbs up, a shout, what have you, while we're getting everything ready. I haven't even had a beer yet. I've gotten everything ready. I got my strike water going right here. That is ready to go. We're going to start mashing in just a moment, but I am going to grab myself a nice cold beer since it is noon and 5 o'clock somewhere. So as you guys are jumping on, please let me know if you can see and hear me all right in the chat, and we're going to get started. We're also going to be doing a BJCP style for Kolsch, which I have some available too. We do that every week on my live stream. So every other Sunday night, you can definitely go and check that out. We do a BJCP style every week. This week, we're doing the live brew day today, so we won't have a live tomorrow night, which is normally when we do it Sunday nights every other week. So in 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll do another one, which we'll decide today. What's up, Paul? How are you? Yes. Yes, your recipe is underway. I've got all the grains milled up and everything is ready to go. We're going to be doing it up today. Thanks to Paul for supplying all the ingredients today. Let me go ahead and grab a beer because I don't have one yet, and I'm getting a little thirsty. So my brew day water is ready to go. We can mash in really any time. So we're going to be starting to do that in just a moment. Letting that foam settle down a little bit. I don't know why. I think I have that thing a little high. I don't know. It's usually not that foamy, but maybe it's just a cold glass or something. But yes, if you haven't checked out the German Pilsner video I did under pressure, it's really about pressure fermentation. That video turned out awesome. The beer turned out awesome, and I pitched that yeast at 78 degrees, believe it or not. So it's awesome. It's crazy that how the pressure really suppresses the off flavors and things. And go if you haven't checked that out and watched the kind of benefits, pros and cons of pressure fermentation, go check that video out. It was really fun making that one. But yeah, we're gonna get started here in just a moment. I do have the temperature turned down to like 148. I'm probably gonna do this more like 150. I know I put in the pale ale recipe online about 152 on here, but I think I'm gonna actually do about 150. This my claw hammer tends to be at like a degree or so high anyway, so it might be closer to like 150, 152 anyway. Speaking of, if you haven't gotten the recipe for this, you can. There's still a link in the video description, or in the well, there will be one down below here too if it's not there already. But also, you can get the video or the link in the post that I have on my channel as well. But you'll see a recipe sheet just like this from Brewer's Friend. Right here. So you can go check this one out. It has all the ingredients. We're going to be using 8 pounds of two-row, 3 pounds of malted rye, and then the 1 pound of Crystal 40. And we have some other hops and stuff that we'll talk about in a little bit. These ingredients right here are for my water profile. If you have a different area that you're living in, which most of you will be, you'll want to do a water profile adjustment based on the water that you have or the one that you are using. If you are using distilled or RO water, you can use this water profile to match down here for the light colored and hoppy beers. There, that's the one I use a lot for like a pale ale, IPA, that kind of stuff. And so that's the target water profile that you'll want to use right there. I did put again in the mash guidelines that I'm going to do 152, but I'm really going to be probably doing a little bit lower than that to make it a little bit more dry and crisp and all that kind of stuff. So let me go ahead. We're going to get mashed in real quick. I'm going to have 2 cameras on at all times almost today. So one on my boil kettle so you can see what I'm doing even when I'm not away or I'm away from this one. And then obviously this one will have weighing out hops and all that kind of stuff here in just a little bit too. So let me go ahead and get this mashed in, and we're going to get moving along. But first, a beer. Cheers, guys. This is the Pilsner, the German Pilsner that I did under pressure right there. You can kind of see, I can see right through that. I do have the air conditioner going on in the garage, but at some point we're going to need to open this when we boil. So it will get hot today, but that's okay. It is summer. We brew anyway. We brew through it. It makes us stronger. All right, now I'm ready to go. German Pilsner in the belly. I already have all my grains pre-milled up here, so we are ready to roll. One thing I want to mention is I don't do this very often in the claw hammer system, but if you have a different type of system, you may want to do this is add different rice hulls. So I have a bag of rice hulls here. You can definitely add this if you want to. I would suggest doing about a pound, a half pound to a pound, depending on your system. I am going to add a little bit to this because that rye is a little sticky and it helps with efficiency. Even though the claw hammer has a giant basket and it drains all the way around, it can get sticky towards the middle. So it kind of goes around the grains in here. So I am going to add probably not like quite a half a pound, but I am going to add some rice hulls in here just to help the water get through those grains a little more so it doesn't get as sticky, because rye can do that. Probably could have added those before I put all the grains in, but we'll get it all mixed in. All right. So I'm recirculating now. You can kind of see the tube got a little bit darker in color because some of those grains are already in there. We mixed in those rice hulls. Again, just going back for people who are just jumping on, welcome, welcome. We have a Rye Pale Ale going on right now. It is the one that Paul shared with us, and he actually supplied all the ingredients. So thank you. Big shout out to him for helping out. That's going to be amazing. It sounds really good. I can't wait to try it out. But here's the recipe. If you haven't gone and checked it out, there is a link in the video description and in the post that I did for this on my YouTube channel. So go check that one out. We used 8 pounds of 2-row, 3 pounds of rye, and then 1 pound of the Crystal 40. The rye, somebody asked me, it's not flaked rye. It's the regular malt rye, and you can go check that out. That's in the video description there. We're going to be using some CTZ hops, some Pearl, and some Cascade in this recipe as well. And then, of course, some US-05 to pitch for the yeast. And so we're going to go ahead and start. We've started the brew day, so we've set our timer now for an hour. So about 1 o'clock or a little bit after, we're going to do that. Let's see here. Again, I'm always going to have 2 Kenda cameras on. One's going to be on this brew pot. There's not a lot going on right now. I am going to be mashing this a little bit lower than I had in the thing, probably around, right around 150. It's got 149 right now. My kettle seems to be a little bit hotter than that sometimes, so I'm putting it at 149, and I'm going to check the temperature, and then if I need to, I'll ramp it up a little bit. But I don't want to get up into the mid 150s. That'll make it a little bit more malty than we're going for a pale ale. And so I like to do that just under 150 most of the time, 149, 148, or 150-ish around there. But I don't really want to go a lot higher than that. 152 maybe max if you're really trying to get some of those malt flavors in there. But other than that, the malt flavors will come through easier than the hops, and you want it to be crisp and dry at some point too. Greg's in the house. What's up, man? Homebrew happy hour. What's up, man? How are you? Can't stick around, but want to pop in and wish you a happy brew day. We will be here for the next 3 hours. It'll be fun. We'll hold down the fort for you, but thanks for dropping on and saying hi. Have a good day, Triple H. Yep. What's your minerals? So the mineral content that's in the recipe is for my water profile. So I had a sample sent off to Ward Labs. It's WARD, Ward Labs. They sent me back my water profile, and I was able to use that to get my actual mineral content of my water. So I still use tap water. I do use a inline kind of hose filter, if you will, to kind of pull out any contaminants and helps with chlorine reduction, that kind of stuff. I still do use a Camden tablet, but I use primarily, my water is very similar to like Germany water, believe it or not, because we're on the West Coast, and back in Pangea when we were all together, I'm pretty sure that's why we have a similar water profile. I'm not sure. I'm just my guess. But anyway, similar water profile. When I make like a Pilsner, I add like nothing, like zero. It's my water is very good for a Pilsner. But some people have different water chemistry, right? Different calcium, different magnesium, sodium, that kind of stuff in their water. So if you use a distilled system or an RO system, or using distilled water, I should say, then you can just use the target profile in the link. If you need to learn how to do all of that, I do have a video on my channel. I think it's called Your Beer Got That Homebrew Taste. It talks about pH and water chemistry. You'll see that basically linked in all of my brew day videos. You can go check that out in the description. I'll have links to all that kind of stuff. It shows you how I do my water profile and maybe how to find one close to you, even if you don't have one yourself. You can find one in the same city generally that you live around, and get one that's very similar to help you kind of dial in your water. That will help after you've kind of perfected brewing a little bit and you start going from like really good beers to great beers, when you're starting to mess with the water profile, especially for like things like a hazy IPA, those kind of things that really want that kind of more pillowy mouthfeel, that kind of thing. That's really important. Fester All Days in the house, doing a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale clone. That's awesome. Got Caramel 60 from the Craft to Brew. Nice. By the way, did anyone watch the Craft to Brew video I just put out for the steam beer, which is the California Common? They have a 20% off your ingredients that you can get from Craft to Brew in there. So you can use that. I don't think they have a limit. Use it as many times as you want. But that video turned out awesome. That just dropped this week. I will be having one of those beers next, but I wanted to start with a Pilsner only because we're going to be doing Kolsch, and I want to try that afterwards for the BJCP thing, and then we'll start getting into the more malty stuff so I don't ruin my palate when we're going through the Kolsch beer. That's my whole reason for picking this one first. Nice. Yes. Go check out Homebrew Happy Hour. He's awesome. We met actually at HomebrewCon this year. That was super awesome. Man, I'm itching to go back to HomebrewCon next year already. It was fantastic. Emmett, what's up, man? How are you? Finally catching alive. Yes, absolutely. We are brewing up a Rye Pale Ale. We got it mashed right now. Now we have an hour to wait. In the meantime, we are going to be doing in just a few minutes a BJCP testing of Kolsch, which I have through. Bought a 4-pack of Früh Kolsch. I actually had this when I was in Germany directly from the source. It was awesome. One I will never forget. I actually have a bottle of it right there, wherever my finger is, right there. Up on the top there, just commemorating my trip to Germany. That's my Stein and stuff I got from Oktoberfest. It was super awesome. But we're going to be having a couple of these guys. Now, I don't have the small little Kolsch glasses, and I'm sorry. So people might be like, why are you pouring it in a pint glass? Well, because I don't have those little things. I should get some, but they have those little 4-pack holders for the little beers. And every time you order a beer in Cologne, Germany, you have to get 2 because they're like 6 ounces a piece, or like something like that. It's like 5.5 ounces or whatever it is. So we'll have that Kolsch in a little bit. We'll go through the BJCP style guidelines. We'll talk about it all. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys are drinking, what you guys are brewing. If you're brewing today, let me know what you're brewing. If you're just drinking today, let me know what you're drinking. And if you're planning to brew one, let me know if you have any questions, because that's part of it. Oh, one thing I didn't do is add my ascorbic acid, which I normally do. I have all my water profile stuff in there, but I forgot to add my ascorbic acid. I add this every single time. Some people are skeptical whether this works or not, but I will tell you, ever since I've been doing it, just anecdotal evidence, it has helped tremendously. There's a lot of science behind it that I don't understand fully, but essentially it helps not oxidize your beer. And yes, I understand that at 150 degrees, the ascorbic acid components will die, but I think what happens chemistry wise has already kind of happened in there, and that's why this works. And to kind of back that up a little bit, the Brewlosophy actually did a Brewlosophy episode on that whole thing about adding ascorbic acid, when to add it, at packaging, during the mash, whatever. And they did find a statistical difference, I guess, with those who could taste the difference from those that were added at the mash. So there's some evidence at least to back it up there. Let's see what we got here. What yeast am I using? I'm using US-05. This is a recipe actually that one of my channel members, or at least channel supporters, gave today, which is Paul. He's on there, Paul Wetzel. You can give him a shout out. He's supplying all the ingredients today. He bought them from a local homebrew supply store that I live by. He just ordered it online, and I was able to go pick it up. So cheers to him for supplying this one. It's a recipe he did and wanted me to brew, and I said, hey, you want to do that, we'll give you a shout out. We'll do a live brew day and brew it together. So this is a Rye Pale Ale. We're using US-05 for the yeast, with CTZ Pearl Cascade hops going in at CTZ for the bittering, Pearl about halfway through the boil at 30 minutes, and then some Cascade towards the end. So I have some pellet hops for Cascade, but I also have some of my hops from my garden that I've grew Centennial and Cascade hops in. So I'm going to be using probably the variety. I'm going to do a little bit of both. Probably for the flame out hops, which is basically right at the end. 1 minute left. I'm going to use my whole cone hops for those. The other ones I'm going to use pellet hops. Sorry, I'm trying to get my scale to shut off. Here we go. There it is. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I did a Rye Pale IPA, excuse me, not Pale Ale. I did a Rye IPA with flaked rye probably back in January. I had that one on the channel, and that turned out really good. I like the little spicy component of it. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of that to come through. It'd be a nice, good fall Pale Ale version to do now that we're getting into that kind of cooler nights weather, hopefully soon. Got a sixer of Kamula Kolsch from Kona. Nice. I love it. I actually almost got a 6-pack of Kona and brought it for today, but I was like, I already have my Pilsner on. I got the Früh. I've got enough like lighter beers, so I got some different ones to try out today too. Anyways, got a 4-pack of Frew and a single Reisdorf at Total Wine. Reisdorf. I don't even know which one that is, but yeah, they have Total Wine's got a whole bunch of different beers, and it's kind of a go-to to find some of the specialty ones. So I check there usually first. There's some at like a Harris Teeter by us, which is a grocery store for those who don't know, and then there's a Publix sometimes has some weird ones, but that's kind of hit or miss depending on which Publix you go to, which is also a grocery store. And then there's a couple of like the ABC type stores at like O'Darby's and stuff that will have some good European beers once in a while. Yes, ascorbic acid makes some antioxidants when boiled in the presence of sulfur compounds. There you go. See, Fester all day. People smarter than me know what's going on. I just add it in there and it works. Tom, what's up, man? Here for now, making a 30-liter American Pale Ale, Victoria and Idaho hops. Idaho 7, I would assume. Yes, that's awesome. APAC in the house. What's up, man? Getting the new Clawhammer controller. I have not thought about that. I did watch the video on it. It looks awesome, man. I will tell you what. That looks really, really cool. I do like the last Clawhammer thing I used was the Clawhammer keg fermenter when I did that pressure video. That thing works like a champ. It's actually, I'm serving out of it right now. Like you can see it literally in the back of the fridge really hard because it's way back in the back middle back there. But it's actually got the yeast cake still in there. I'm probably going to transfer that off there eventually. But I'm serving with that floating dip tube right from the keg, man. It's working awesome. And that's the beer right here. So if you haven't watched that pressure fermentation video, go check it out. Super clear, by the way. Look at that. The yeast cake's still in there, and you can see me talking through the glass. But this video turned out awesome. Great beer. One of the tricks that I kind of learned at HomebrewCon this year, which I will probably use more and more, when you're doing lighter beers like a Pilsner or even to some extent a pale ale, but basically these lighter beers that only have one ingredient in them, like Pilsners, that kind of thing, or one base malt, I should say. They have a lot more protein content because of the climate getting warmer. And so some of the maltsters were there talking about that a little bit. And even though they want to sell you malt, right, that's their whole goal, they actually say that because of the protein content, you actually should swap out about a half pound to a pound, depending on how much or how big of a boil you're doing, or how much big of a batch, I should say, of rice or corn. So for this one, even though I had brewed this recipe before, I swapped a half pound of rice, flaked rice, in for the Pilsner malt that I was using, and it actually did help really crispen this beer up. I think it's nice and crisp and clean. You could actually do dextrose or something else instead of corn or rice, but rice, flaked rice is pretty easy to find and inexpensive. Heck, you can find sometimes in the grocery store. So really an easy swap to do, but it helps you not get more of that kind of too malty flavor for what would be a Kolsch or a Pilsner or something like that. So definitely something to look into. So after this one, we're going to do the BJCP style for Frew, for Kolsch beers. You can have whatever Kolsch beers you want, but I have Frew from Germany. Of course, from the Cologne, Germany area. That's where Kolsch originates from. That's going to be awesome. But yeah, I would love to try out the Clawhammer controller at some point. I've got this one dialed in, of course, but it would be kind of cool. They have some different features and things, and I know that they have their video out kind of showcasing that. I think they even did a live video showing that as well. So I watched a little bit of that when I was in between some work meetings and things, and but I need to watch that whole thing and learn a little bit more about the controller, because that's cool. It works out awesome. I love that they kind of 3D print the outsides too. That's pretty sweet. Saves them on some of that. Watched a bunch of that videos as they were kind of putting that stuff together at Clawhammer. So good for them. It's not the warmer climate. It's a political thing because they're growing grains more in the southern climates instead of traditional areas north. Well, at least the guy that told me at the maltster at HomebrewCon, he was saying that even in the traditional areas where they're normally growing them in Germany and things, they're finding that they have more of a protein content. And so it could be a little bit of both. I think it is the warmer climate does help. I mean, they're seeing that or doesn't help, excuse me. They're seeing that in grape production and everything else too. So the same locations that they would normally have for grape productions, those grapes in the same fields that they grew in forever are getting too warm and are changing the flavor of said grapes. So they're finding that even in wine production. So there's something to be said about it, but I do think that just from a beer brewing standpoint, adding something that doesn't have that kind of malty flavor, but still will provide the alcohol, will help make it a crisp, clean, refreshing beer. So it is a little bit of that. But I agree with you. It's probably because they're trying to grow these in other areas too. Just like me growing hops here is not going to be the same as somebody growing the same variety of hops in the north, because it gets so much hotter here. I have to water more often. I've got to do different things to keep my hops alive. And it's just going to struggle in warmer climates than it will in better climates for growing hops. Here in South Carolina, we're I'm not as close to the mountains as like Asheville is, which may be better because it's a little bit cooler. But here they love the heat. Certain varieties, but some varieties would just burn up, and they're just not gonna work here. So my Centennial and my Cascade hops seem to love it, and but they do need a lot more water than you would read online for somebody who lives like in Michigan or the Pacific Northwest. So without further ado, no need to look at my pot boiling over here. So we're gonna, or just sitting here. So let me go and do my my Brew. Where am I having my thing here? Apparently there it is. So you don't need the second camera just yet because we're not really doing anything. So for the time being, we will use just the one. I'm gonna grab my Brew Kolsch, and we're gonna go through the BJCP style guidelines now that I am done with this here. So let's pour one. Again, I got Brew, which is one option that BJCP style guidelines actually says is a recommended commercial example for Kolsch. So I'm going to share my screen here. This is the bjcp.org page. You can go check that out, bjcp.org, and then go down and hover over BJCP style guidelines, go down to the 2021 beer style guidelines. Kolsch is under category 5, which is pale, bitter European beers. And then if you scroll down, 5B is what we were looking at today. So just to tell you what those commercial examples would be. So you have Brew, you have Gaffel, Mühlen. I can't even say half these. Reisdorf. Oh, that's what you had before. You had a W in there, so I was pronouncing it like Weiss, but Reisdorf, Sion, and Sunner Kolsch. So these are the Kolsch examples that you could get there. I'm butchering the names, I know, but those are the commercial examples for Kolsch. So let's pour one, and while we read through the kind of overall impression and that kind of stuff of this beer. So without further ado, Brew, which is the first one here. Again, I went to Germany 2 falls ago, and went to Oktoberfest in Munich. We went up to Czech Republic and went to Pilsen, and had Pilsner Urquell tour, which is probably the coolest thing I've ever done as a beer brewer. That tour was freaking amazing. It's something I'll never forget. And then we went to a couple of places in Germany, including Cologne, Germany, where we had stayed in a hotel right across from the Kloner Dom Cathedral and had this exact beer, which is Brew. And then they had a restaurant and gift shop right literally underneath our hotel. Actually, the hotel room I had a Kolsch beer as part of the closet. It's like a poster type of cutout as part of the closet, which was really cool. Maybe I'll show that in a minute. But anyway, great beer. Here's what the BJCP style guidelines say about it. It says a subtle, brilliantly clear, pale beer with a delicate balance of malt, fruit, and hop character, moderate bitterness, and a well attenuated but soft finish. Freshness makes a huge difference with this beer, as delicate character can fade quickly with age. So it's medium yellow to light gold, brilliant clarity, which you can tell right here. Obviously, it's fogging up in my garage a little bit, but you can see it's absolutely brilliantly clear. Has delicate white head that may not persist. So even though mine's persisting a little bit, it may not persist. It's fine if it does not. have that head retention on there very long. So we go into the aroma. It is low to very low, grainy, sweet malt aroma. Subtle fruit aroma, apple, pear, or sometimes cherry is optional but welcome. Low floral, spicy, or herbal hop aroma optional. And then the intensity of aromatics is fairly subtle but generally balanced, clean, fresh, and pleasant. For the time being, I'm shutting off my fan so I can smell this thing because I think I would be just blowing the aroma away. So I get some of that kind of fruit, almost appley pear, along with that kind of sweet maltiness. I'm get maybe a little bit of herbal, but I can't tell over like it's kind of an appley pear aroma and that graininess. I don't get a ton of floral, spicy, herbal right off the bat. Maybe a little bit of herbal, but it's kind of hard to tell. But very good. It smells just like it's supposed to as far as these aroma statistics are concerned. So let me go in for the flavor. It should be a delicate flavor balance between the malt, the fruitiness, bitterness, and hops with a clean, well attenuated finish. The medium to medium low grainy maltiness may have very, very light bready or honey notes. The fruitiness may have almost an imperceptible sweetness. Low to medium low, to medium bitterness. Low to moderately high floral hop, spicy herbal hop flavor. Most are medium low to medium. They may have a neutral, grainy to light, malty, sweet impression at the start. Soft, round palate, soft finish, or finish is soft, dry, light, slight crisp, not sharp or biting. No noticeable residual sweetness. While the balance between the flavor components may vary, none are ever strong. So let's go ahead and see what I taste when I taste the Brew Kolsch. And let me know if you're tasting these type of things too and what you're getting from them as well. Yeah, so I get that kind of low graininess, almost a little bit of kind of like bready notes to it. I do get the fruitiness a little bit in there. The flavor definitely has more of those herbally hop flavors. It is kind of on the medium low bitterness range. But I like how this is a clean beer, but yet it's soft feeling, right? So it's kind of soft palate, like they were talking about in that kind of like third to the bottom line here. This kind of soft, rounded palate, but it finishes dry and crisp. It's kind of a weird difference, and I think that's why Kolsch is kind of the way it is, and it has a lot to do with their water profile. So this one is one that's pretty difficult, I think, for some people to brew because of that water quality. Yeah, I guess I get a little bit of that spiciness and herbal notes with the flavor. I didn't get that as much in the hop aroma. I got more of those kind of appley pear flavors, but you don't taste that as much in the flavor. You get more of those herbal, spicy hop characters in the actual flavor part of it, which is weird because you get a different aroma than you do in the flavor a little bit. That's pretty interesting. I guess in the very aftertaste, I taste some of those maybe appley pear fruitiness type of flavors, but it's not at the beginning like you would think when you smell it. It might taste like that originally, and it doesn't. It's more that after flavor to me. But yeah, great beer. Mouthfeel to round this thing off. Mouthfeel should be medium light to medium body. Most are medium light, medium to medium high carbonation, smooth and soft. So yeah, smooth and soft is definitely there. It is again kind of a medium to me, not medium light, I guess medium body, but it's still dry, and it does have that kind of higher carbonation level, which why you can see it kind of bubbling still in this, even though it's not very light behind me, you can see the bubbles even in your camera, still coming up because of that high carbonation. So that's pretty cool. And then you got the history and some other characteristics here, comparing them to German Pilsners and Viennas and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to give my mash here a little bit of a stir while we are going on here. Also, if you have any questions, shoot them in the chat section. I'll get to those in just a minute. If you want stickers, feel free to email me at cityscapebrew@gmail.com. Excuse me, that'll be actually going along the bottom of the screen here in just a minute. You can see my email address. Email me, cityscapebrew@gmail.com for some stickers. I sent a bunch out about a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago. You probably got those if you emailed me. The last live, if you emailed me, I don't think I got, there's probably 2 more of you that asked for stickers after that. I still have to get those out, but I will do that after today. So you don't need to email me again. If you've already emailed me, don't email me again. But because I put you in a different folder once I send out them, so I know who I have and haven't sent them to. If you email me longer than that ago, like 2 months ago, and you still didn't get them, email me again and let me know that you didn't get them, because I don't want you to not get them. They might have got something in the mail, that kind of thing. Feel free, or if you want more, go ahead. I've got a ton of these things. Feel free, email me, cityscapebrewing@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and give this a stir around. All right. So the reason I stir this around a lot is because it will help give you better efficiency. And so one thing that you can do, sometimes especially if you're recirculating like the claw hammer does, has that recirculation lid on it. What sometimes that will happen is it's starting to make that grain kind of tighter towards the bottom because it's still recirculating through. So it's kind of setting that grain bed. And by stirring it back up a little bit, it releases some of the sugars back out into that liquid. And so do that plenty of times, especially if you're using something that recirculates. It will help with your efficiency of your mash. So you're going to get a little bit better efficiency out of that by stirring more frequently. Would malt extract be considered an adjunct? Add lime to a Pilsner. So malt extract is not a adjunct if it's truly malt extract like you would use for brewing, because that's considered a malt, even though it's an extract. So an adjunct would be something that is a non-malted grain or non-malted item that you would put in there. So to me, like if you had cereal grains are also non-malt adjuncts because they're non-malted cereal grains. So those are adjuncts. If you put in limes or other things like that, salt, and those are all different things that could be added to it. Rye is an adjunct in the sense that it's not like a barley malt type of thing, right? Flaked rye and regular rye are not considered malt fermentables, I don't think. I think they would be considered those kind of adjuncts. LME is not lime. Oh, okay. LME, yeah. So liquid malt extract or dry malt extract, yeah. Either one of those would be just considered your regular malts because they make those out of the malt. So to me, it wouldn't be an adjunct. So we are doing that today and not live stream tomorrow, right? Yes, absolutely. So we're doing that. We're not doing a live stream tomorrow night, which would normally be Sunday night. We're doing that today. I agree that it's 6:30 in the morning there, but sometimes I do judging competitions and we start as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. And when you do that, you don't want to brush your teeth, believe it or not, because the toothpaste can actually take away taste buds and stuff in your mouth to actually taste and perceive flavors. So everybody who shows up early in the morning to try a BJCP tasting, you don't want to brush your teeth. It's like the number one rule. Don't brush your teeth in the morning. So will Kolsch work on corn flakes? Let me, there's a bunch of good recipes on Kolsch's. Let me see if I can find a good one. I have not brewed a Kolsch, believe it or not. Well, I take that back. I did a long time ago. It was not very good. And so I should do, it's one I should actually do. Let me see if I'm on Brewer's Friend already for some of my recipe stuff. So let me see if we can browse some of their recipes, search beer recipes, and see if we can find an awesome Kolsch recipe here. Kolsch. Here, I'll share my screen while we're doing this here. So when I'm Brewer's Friend, there's a search tool for beer recipes. You can type in Kolsch. You can do all grain. You can also choose from extract, that kind of stuff, and then what measurements you want, that kind of thing. And then you could even pick certain fermentables and hops and things that you want in there, and it will kind of separate them out. So not to say these are any good or not or bad, because who knows who put all this on here. But let me go ahead and at least put like the kind of number of times people brewed it. That way, if it's good, maybe they have more brews. So we'll choose from one of these. Let me see if this, summer citricals. Oh, that's an experimental type thing, so I don't want to do that. Let's do this cucumber traditional Kolsch from, there we go. Let's try that. Just the name popping out at me here. So let's see what they used for there. So they have Belgian Pilsner, German wheat, and some melanoidin malt. So I don't see any type of corn in there. Now, you could switch out some from the Belgian Pilsner, some flaked rice or Pilsner to give it that cleaner, crisp taste. And so that's what I was talking about when I did this German Pilsner, is I swapped some of that stuff out. So I don't think that would be inappropriate to do that, just to try and get that kind of cleaner, crisper taste. But I would only do about a half pound or so based on this recipe, only being 9.3 pounds anyway. So that's that. And then they use Pearl and some domestic Hallertauer hops at Whirlpool. And then they use the Wyeast Kolsch yeast there. So pretty easy recipe. Looks like they use a little bit of melanoidin and probably just for some head retention and other things like that. Whoop, clicked on the wrong thing here. But yeah, so let's see if sometimes when I look at these recipes, I don't know if this is a great beer or not, because somebody put it on there. They only have one review, probably from themselves, like, oh, it's 5. So I kind of looked through a couple of these other ones. Like, let's just look at a few of these and see if they have some similar stuff in it, right? This one uses, German Pilsner, wheat malts, dark wheat. I'm not sure why they use a dark wheat. A half pound seems like it's a lot. 6.5 Lullabon, rice hulls, some Maris Otter, Sterling, Medusa hops, Wyeast Kolsch, of course, same yeast. So at least we have a couple of similar things that they have in there. Some Pilsner, some the same yeast choice. I don't know if this one's supposed to be darker on purpose, but seems like SRM for this style. I guess it's only 4.6. I don't know what the other one was. Maybe it's let's go back to that other one. Was the other one lighter? Well, this one said it was 9.3. That's crazy. That's very high, I would think. So they had some wheat malt in there. They had Pilsner malt and then some differences in this stuff here. So the Lullabon numbers, I guess this melanoidin has 25. So I guess they did add some for some color. It's not perfectly, you're right, it does have a little bit of like a tinge to it, but it's not, I probably wouldn't add a lot of color to these. I'd probably want to look more lighter. Let's just look at German Kolsch here. This one just uses straight German Pilsner. Herzbrucker. This one just uses USO5, so I don't know if that's, like I said, any good or not. Sometimes you'll find if you just like Google search it, the APA sometimes has stuff on there. So if you do like, or not APA, the American Homebrewers Association, AHA. Kolsch. Let's see what they say. So 90% Pilsner, 10% Care Pils is generally, this is the AI overview. Tettnang, Hallertauer, Spalt, Yeast, Wyeast, White Labs, German Ale, Kolsch yeasts. Super dry. I agree with that. So, I mean, I like AI's Google thing just to give you an idea, but I don't go by this because they're pulling stuff from other people's recipes and stuff, and they're just trying to find like some base in there, right? But if I do like the American Homebrewers Association has some Kolsch recipes, that's what I was looking for. Is this one here? Is so that you can kind of look through here. If you're a member, I'm a member of these, so you'll find more recipes because there are that. But there's some NHC Gold, National Homebrew Competition Gold recipes in here, right? So if you, this is another one. So if we do this one, oh, I'm not logged in. That's why. See if I can log in here. There we go. So I don't know if they want me sharing all this, but anyway, here's what it is. So if you're a member of American Homebrewers Association, which you should be, if you're not, please do that. That's awesome. You get a lot of perks for being a AHA member, and you get to go to some of the homebrewing competitions and other stuff in the Homebrew Con. You'll need to do that as well. But anyway, here's some other ones. Here's Mile High Kolsch. They have, let's see what they got. So German Pilsner malt. So they all use that wheat. So white wheat malt, some Munich malt. That seems like a more appropriate 10 Lovebond number there. Hallertau Mittelfrüh, which I think would be appropriate as well. And then they use that Y yeast. So that's a very common one to use, I guess, this Y yeast one here. And then we're seeing some common characteristics. So this is a gold medal winner recipe right there for Kolsch. So that might be another one we'll want to do in the future on the channel. Maybe take some of those recipes, mix them up a little bit, make my own. I mean, you can only do so much with a Kolsch recipe because it's only like 2 or 3 ingredients. So kind of it is what it is type of thing, right? But also let me know if you have any questions or comments in the video comment section. I'm going to be stirring this one more time. We mashed in about, again, we're making a rye pale ale. Thanks to Paul Wetzel. He did a pickup order for me to go pick up some ingredients at Alternative Beverage, which is our local homebrew supply store near Charlotte. So I was able to go pick that up. We're brewing this one thanks to him for helping out. We have about 10 minutes or so on our mash. So we're going to keep stirring this up. For the last 10 minutes, I'm going to be ramping up the I'm going to ramp up the temperature to 170-ish to help stop that process from conversion from starches to sugars, and it will help the viscosity a little bit to help drain out more of those sugars. And then we'll start getting into the boil and all that mess and weighing out hops and all that kind of thing. So we're going to stir this one good time. We'll give it about 5 minutes or so. We'll start ramping up that temperature. All right, good and mixed up. Imperial Dieter is my favorite yeast for Kolsch. I don't know if I've ever heard of that one. That's cool. Imperial makes some good yeast, though. I have used a bunch of Imperial yeast with good results in the past. I'm looking up that yeast right now because I've never heard of it. Probably because I haven't made a Kolsch. Dieter Imperial yeast is a German Kolsch yeast strain, fairly fraculent. Dieter's clean, crisp, traditional goals. Oh, I'm not even sharing that. I thought I was. Here's your Imperial yeast and Dieter. Very low ester profile makes this strain perfect for Kolsch. Alt beer. Oh, that's another one I haven't brewed yet either. I should try. And other light colored, delicate beers. Dieter has better flocculation characteristics than most Kolsch strains, which allow brewers to produce clean, bright beers in a shorter amount of time. Nice. I'll have to check that out. That's a good one. Thank you for recommending. By the way, if you guys are just joining us, we are brewing up a Rye Pale Ale. There is a recipe for this one, thanks to Paul. He's calling it the Alistair Williams Rapa or Rye American Pale Ale. There is a recipe that you can get just like this on the my channel. You can look underneath the posts for this and in the video description for this live. It will be all there for you. Again, we used 2-row rye and Crystal 40. So 8 pounds of 2-row, 3 pounds rye, which is the not flaked rye. It's just a malted rye. And then the 1 pound of Crystal 40. We're using CTZ hops, Pearl, and Cascade, which I'm going to pull out right now. So thank you, Paul, for grabbing all this. Actually, I have some of this stuff already weighed out. I only have a little tiny bit of Cascade. I think there's like only like a half an ounce in this. So I have my fresh homegrown Cascades from this year. This is 2026 still. Those lost their vacuum seal when I pulled them out this morning, but they are fresh. I have CTZ hops, half ounce here, there for me, and then the Pearl hops also for the halfway mark in our boil. So those I shouldn't really even need to weigh out, but I will anyway, just to make sure that they're correct because I didn't weigh those out myself. We did taste our BJCP style for Kolsch, which was what we've been talking about for the last little bit as we've been waiting for our mash to stop here or to finish up. The starch conversion is almost done. So this is the Fru Kolsch. It is fantastic. Check it out. Great beer to start with for the day, especially if you started drinking at noon like I just did. But we're taking it slow because it's a 3-hour brew day. So we mashed in right when we got started about noon, which is about 50 minutes ago or so. In about a couple of minutes, we're going to just ramp that thing up to 170, help with our kind of knockout and or not knockout, our mash out, and then so it'll help stop that starch conversion and help the viscosity. During the boil, we're also going to be adding some yeast nutrient and a Whirlfloc tablet to help clear that up. I have that right there, ready to go. So that's all done. And I don't think we're missing anything else. Let's check out I do want to check and see what our temperature looks like. So it's right at like 150. I did it a little bit lower on the mash temperature than what the recipe said. I said 152. I think we're going to stick at 150, help it make it a little more crisp. I have my trusty thermometer here. I'm going to check out how warm this actually is in here. So one thing I found is right away the claw hammer system seems to be a little high, but as it regulates out and I keep stirring it and it's been sitting there for a little while, this thing was spot on. Is 149.2. Again, when you get the claw hammer or anything else, you have to calibrate it, and there is a calibration setting for the temperature, which I did do. So what I do like about it is right away when I'm mashing, it might be a little bit warm because it's used to having, like, when I did the temperature calibration and stuff, I had, full boil volume and some mash and stuff in there. But what I like about it is that I don't mind that it's high right away because I'm going to mash in, and then I really wanted to regulate the temperature when the full mash is there, when you have all the grains and stuff in there. How long does it actually take to like warm up or cool down or whatever those degrees? So doing that temperature calibration during a brew day is actually kind of cool idea. That's kind of what I did. And right now it's only 0.2 difference than what the actual reader says here. So that's awesome. So it's spot on actually. So really good. It's at 149.2 and I have it at 149. I don't mind it being a little low. I'm okay with that. So if it overshoots trying to warm up, here it says 150.4. It's actually closer to the actual thing, but it turns on and off, right? So it's also at the top part towards the bottom. It might be a little bit warmer since it's closer to the heating element. So I'm okay with it being a little bit lower when I do the temperature from the top. The probe for the claw hammer is actually at the bottom on the other side. So it is reading from the bottom. So this is probably more accurate at the top reading. This is 50.3 now, 150.3. So it's actually pretty spot on. I'm very, very happy with that. I test that once in a while just to make sure that is what it is. I don't need to do another calibration, but I literally did it once and it stayed the whole time I brewed with this system. So it's awesome. I'm going to pick up hops this week and do a brew. How many ounces did you get from your harvest? Awesome, man. Good question. So I've harvested twice now off my plants. And so the first time I picked, there was a bunch of hops that came out early. I probably had about, I'd say maybe 6-7 ounces at the first harvest of my Cascade and Centennial hops ish. My Centennial hops really outgrew my Cascade this year. My Cascade hops, I think I should have stripped some of the lower bind portions off sooner than I did this year. And they didn't get as many side arms growing. And it could have been my fault for not, mending the soil as much as I could have at the beginning of the year. I should have done that a little bit more. But my Cascade hops didn't grow as many sidearms, so I didn't get as many hops as I thought I would have off of that. My Centennial hops are still putting out. I mean, they're going crazy. But here, let me show you what I did yesterday. So the bucket that I dried out this week, I took a picture of that and posted it. So the other time I had about I think 6 or so. This time I had 7.48, so about 7.5 pounds of Centennial hops. So these are all vacuum sealed. That's that big bucket full. But look at how bad they crunch down. This thing is hard as a rock because I vacuum sealed them. But I put them all in there. They look awesome. They actually smell amazing, by the way. These things are awesome. But look at how thin that gets from vacuum sealing them. So I have a Inkbird vacuum sealer, works really well. I double seal the bottom and then I fill this thing and I seal the top, and this thing is hard as a rock. It's a brick, but you can see in there the like little yellow lupulin glands and stuff that are like right there. You can kind of see the yellowness in the middle there. That's in the middle of the hop cones. But some of those hop cones were 2 inches. I mean, they were big old cones. It was really awesome. I still have some Centennial from 2025. I still have some like 7 ounces of that from 2025. So this is from last year. So what I'm probably going to use is this year for I'm probably going to do oh my gosh, what am I trying? Bell's Two Hearted Ale Cologne, and use these up so I can use a whole bunch of them. I'm probably going to give away a few ounces to some people in my homebrew club this week also because I got a bunch. But I'm excited I did the Cascade with a Pale Ale, and I'm going to use this Centennial hop. So I have a bunch of Centennial from last year and this year now to use. So I'm excited. I'll probably be brewing with Centennial quite a bit. And this is all I have left from the Cascade last year, which is the 2025. You can kind of see that. So this is I only have 1.5 ounces, which actually I could have used all these today because that's all I'm using is 1.5 ounces. But since these are nice and vacuum sealed still, and this one kind of lost its seal, I'm just going to use these. These are from this year anyway. So I'm going to use these. I have a little bag of some residual ones I grabbed after the fact too. So I'm going to probably use those in my boil today versus breaking open the seal since this one's good and sealed yet from last year. Probably going to use the fresher ones for this one. But yeah, that thing is crammed full of hops. Like I've got more hops than anybody knows what to do with. So once in a while I'll have to buy some more, but I've got a lot. Colder the better. 40 is the best, but regular freezer works. Oh, okay. You're answering a question. Question about storing hops. Freezer or fridge option is best. Yes, freezer is best for hops. Grains and stuff I just keep room temperature, and then the yeast I keep in my refrigerator. I have a crap ton of yeast too, by the way, like way too much, like more than most people. I had a brewery that closed down close to me, and we were I'm gonna have to pre-portion some of this out, but he gave me a whole bunch. And like check out all this stuff I've got. I mean, I'm gonna here. Let me just show you all this yeast I've got. This is more than one person should have in yeast at one time. This is just from this refrigerator, and then I'm going to show you the other one. So I've got, this is 125 grams of Safe Ale W68 yeast. So that's a German yeast as well. I think it's Hefeweizen or something or whatever. What a wheat beer type yeast. You just for an idea, 125 grams is 10 times what you need for like 10, it's 10 batches worth. Basically it's you do 11.5 grams per little packet that you use of Safe Ale. I have soft lager, which is 115 grams of S189 of dry yeast. I have This is what I was looking for. In addition to that, I have a 250 grams of USO5. Like that is 25, basically 25, or actually, well, about 20 batches of USO5 yeast. That's more than anyone should ever have in their possession at one time. But if you're not a commercial brewer, right? So 11 and a half grams per packet, and I've got a ton. So I've got a lot of USO5. So I've got a bunch of that. Those will last forever because they're dry yeast. These, on the other hand, I'll have to make starters for. I have a Hefeweizen yeast from White Labs, 38. I have a giant pack. This is meant for a brewery of East Coast Ale WLP 008 from White Labs. I have a Mexican lager yeast from Omega, which again, all these I'll have to use. I'll have to get some starters going. This was from March. I have a Kvike Voss yeast. I have a Sundew Ale yeast, which is one of their versions that they don't make anymore because it is the genetically modified yeasts for Sundew Ale. So this one is ripe strawberry, passion fruits, pear, stone fruit, that kind of thing. But that is Sundew Ale. And then I have more packets and other dry yeast in this right now because I need to move those over. But I got too much yeast, so you'll be seeing some of these in some videos. So, and then I also have West Coast Ale from Cellular Science. I have Pomona Lullamond, which I used before in a video. I have Cerevisier yeast still for some sours. I have 3 packets of 3470 soft lager, and I have a American East Coast for a New England from Lullamond also. So that's like a hazy yeast. This one is a 2021 expiration date, but we can bring it back from the dead with a starter. So those are all yeasts that are still vacuum packed and still good. So I'm hanging on to those. But yeah, I got more yeast than any man should have. And if that wasn't enough, I have S23 soft lager, big old packet of that, 100 grams of that, which is too much for any person. And then soft sour LB1 from Fermentus. This is other souring one, which I have not used before, so I might try that. That's kind of like I think the souring agent that I do for kettle sours. So I'm gonna try this one one time. But I got this again when a brewery closed down. I got a whole bunch of yeast, so I'll use some of that. And I'm not gonna use it for everything, but I have a ton of different yeast, so I'm gonna definitely use some of these. Some of this I'll just give away to friends and other things that need it. Oh, and then one other thing that I got, which I'm excited to try, is this Hopsteiner. It's like hop oils. It's a LLZ. What is this? What is this called? It's a hop oil compound. It's a diluted 1 kilogram batch of something, and I think it's I can't remember what type of hop oil this is, but man, that's a lot. I mean, this is a ton. This would last you like decades long. So I don't know how long it'll last in this thing. It has not been opened. I'm gonna try this in a video, and you can buy these in smaller containers. Again, these are for breweries, but I might actually give the rest of this to a brewery after I use a little bit of it. But because I don't want to waste it all, because it's probably really good. But again, I'm keeping that in the fridge too. So yeah, got a lot of yeast. Let me know if you have any recommendations for how I should use all this yeast, because I don't even know how I'm going to use it all. But I will have to pop in and actually do the yeast for the USO5 today, because I'm going to be using that big old thing for yeast. So I'll probably pull out like 12 grams of it or so like that. I don't know how old the brewery or how long that brewery had it or anything like that, but it is dry yeast. It should last quite a long time, shelf life, especially if you put it in the refrigerator. So I'm not too worried about it, but I'm probably going to put in about 12, 13 grams, just a little extra than normal packet would be, just to make sure. But we're going to go ahead and turn this thing up. We're kind of way past. We're about an hour, almost exactly what I mashed in. So I'm going to do turn this up to 170 to start mashing out. And then we'll give it a good stir around to let it do this thing. All right. By the way, somebody asked me this the other day, and I thought it was interesting because I don't think I ever point this out. But maybe people have seen this on my videos or not. But people are like, "Where do you put your spoon or whatever? Like, do you just lay it on the counter? It gets all over the place?" And I was like, "No, I actually have this little container that looks like this. It's actually meant to hook together like in a drawer for like spoons and stuff in your house. And I use it as a little catch-all because there's like grains and moisture and stuff that comes off of this dripping and things, and it helps it kind of tilt when I put it in there. So I have this little like basket, if you will, for my paddle that or spoon or whatever you use to put in there, so it doesn't drip all over the place and get all over. I used to just set it on the thing next to it, but it get all sticky and I'm cleaning stuff up. This I can just rinse off with the hose when I'm done, right? So perfect way to do that. Somebody asked me about that the other day. I was like, oh, that's a good question. I've never told anybody about that, so that's pretty cool. All right, let's get back to the questions. Pellet hops, vacuum seal. Yep, I do vacuum sealing most of the time for pellet hops as well. Unless I'm going to use them right away, then I don't worry about them. Like if these little packets, like these are vacuum sealed. I mean, they're sealed from oxygen, but they're not vacuum sealed. But they're good enough if you're going to use them right away. But I vacuum seal the main part of my pellet hops and or whole cone hops as well. 500 gram brick of Big Ben. No kidding. Silver Fang. That's awesome. That's what that packet was a 500 gram brick, and that's what they come in. But I actually split it with a couple of friends of mine. So I actually gave him more than half of the USO5 and other ones because I'm like, I'm not going to use all this myself. Like I use USO5 for things that don't require a lot of different flavors, but I don't use it generally for a lot of regular beers. I like to get some of the flavors and things you'll get from the yeasts. So I do use it for like porters. A lot of times I'll use it for my sours because they'll be fruited and it doesn't really matter what the yeast is, and does a good job of cleaning that up and holding on to the haze. I like that it holds on to a little bit of haze because I like my sours to be a little bit more fruity looking. So I use more white wheat on purpose for those. Leave the pellets in the OG bag. Then that vacuum seal that bag. Yeah. Keep them in a cool corner. Fridge, freezer would keep them longer. Yep. Freezer is awesome for hops. They will keep longer that way for sure. And you're right. Temperature swings for anything. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's malt, yeast, hops, temperature swings are the worst. So keeping it in a similar controlled environment is the best thing to do. Dry yeast can sit out room temperature. You'll see homebrew shops and stuff, they'll put them out. Totally fine to do. They just keep longer when they're refrigerated. You just don't want to freeze them necessarily. Matt, what's up, man? How are you? Gearing up to brew my first all grain batch. Awesome. Leaning towards doing a simple smash to get the process down. Great idea, by the way. Any recommendations on a recipe or general style? I'm hoping to make a crowd pleaser. What I would do, Matt, great question. This is an awesome question. I'm glad you're getting into all grain brewing, and please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to email me or even comment on any of my videos as you're watching them, and I will let you pick my brain. Plus, we come on here every other Sunday to do live. So come on and ask questions. So great getting into the hobby. What I would recommend doing is something that you like, that you can compare also to something that you have. So I don't know what kind of beer styles that you like, but if you're trying to do more of a smash beer anyway, I would recommend doing like a similar version to like a pale ale. A lot of people start with that. And one of the things that I would suggest doing is a version like Sierra Nevada's pale ale, if you're able to get that where you are. I have a recipe on my page. I think actually Fester All Day is brewing one of those today. And I have a recipe on my page that goes through that exact recipe. Let me see if I can find it for you, and I'll kind of show what it's called. But if you type in Sierra Nevada on my page, you'll get right to it. But the go to the, let me see here. I go to my channel here, share my screen, and then if you type in, I'll just type in pale ale because it'll come up. You'll see different versions of different ales and stuff. Number one, if you haven't watched the all grain brew days, okay, check them out. Like this first one that's that you see here in the image, that is my like 47-minute long everything you need to know about all grain brewing. And I don't know what type of system that you're using, but this tells you, kind of talks about the starch conversion and what happens during the mash and all that kind of stuff. It tells you a little bit about everything you need to know. But this is a great one to start with because it's easy. It's basically a smash beer because it only has a little bit of crystal and then mostly two-row or Pilsner malt, whatever you want to use for that. But basically two-row and that. But if you go underneath here, this video, and you click this more button, this gives you the entire recipe right here. So I have two-row. It's basically 91% two-row and then a little bit of crystal. And then the rest of it is Cascade. That's basically a smash beer, but you can compare it to the real Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. So I would totally do this. One of the things that I use all the time is this Omega West Coast Ale 1, if you can get Omega yeast. If not, there are good West Coast Ale yeasts. I would not typically use just US-05 for this because I want to have a little bit more of that kind of citrusy flavor for that the yeast gives this also. That's one of the things that like Bell's Two Hearted Ale does for their IPAs. Their yeast is what makes that beer. It is. And so don't just use US-05. You'll see a lot of recipes online say that. Try to use something with some citrusy West Coast flavors. This is a good one to use. But this is a great one to start with. It's easy. It has one hop variety, even though you do add it several times in there. And then there is some dry hopping component. Again, this is optional to do the dry hopping. You could actually just add those same 1 ounce here to the flame out, which is basically drop them in right as you're starting to cool down. It would almost do the same thing. So if you don't want to dry hop, you don't want to worry about that as your first all grain batch, don't worry about it. If you do, and you've done dry hopping before, extract or otherwise, you can do it. But one version of hop, Cascade, and then basically one version, but like two versions of this. It just gives a little bit of that crystal flavor. This will be a crowd pleaser for sure if you make this. So those who liked a good pale ale, Sierra Nevada is that kind of OG when it comes to that. But that's what I would do. Fester all day, he's making one. But great process. I'm glad you're getting into the all grain, and let me know if you have any questions for sure. My wife just had a taste of my Kolsch, and she said it took her back to our trip to Cologne in 2020 or 2014. She said we just need a dude to bring a tray of 12 to our table every 30 minutes exactly, and get 2 of them every time because they're only 6 ounces a piece in those little trays. I was doing that every time, and I was like, 2 beers every time. It was a good time for sure. Yes, absolutely. Cologne is really fun. It's probably one of the cooler cities we visited in Germany. I stopped in Würzburg, Germany on the way from Pilsen in the Czech Republic over to Cologne, and Würzburg was really cool. It's a little mountainous town. It's got all these it's got this bridge with statues and stuff. It's kind of like a smaller version of like Prague almost. And it is a lot of cool architecture. It's got a lot of these really historic, cool churches in there. It's got these streetcars that go around town, cobblestone roads. You walk over the bridge to a big castle that's there. Very, very cool area if you haven't gone there in the past. Blonde Ale, also a crowd pleaser as well. Fester all day, right? That's the same type of category as those pale American beers. So, but a pale ale, that one of the things that I like about doing the Sierra Nevada is you can compare it to Sierra Nevada. And one thing too, Matt, if you have questions about, brewing salts and all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't worry about that too much right away, depending on how good your water is for brewing. But that is another thing you can test out. There's videos on how to do that. Happy to talk you through that if you want to learn a little bit more about it. But right now it's more about just getting that process down. So watch that all grain video that I have that talks about everything you need to know. What system are you using, Matt, by the way? Are you using a kind of Rubbermaid container cooler, or did you buy an all-in-one system? What are you brewing with? happy to kind of give you some tips if you tell me to. We'll help you out there too. Good time in Germany, absolutely. That's awesome. Using Lallemand New England IPA NEPA yeast for my Sierra Nevada clone. Nice. That's also not a bad idea, using kind of a NEPA yeast. It might not be as clear when you get done, because the yeast does help hang on to some of that haze. But it's really, really good. Actually, Lallemand has a IPA yeast that's really, really good called Verdant IPA. I used that for a New England hazy IPA before too, but that would be a really good one to do for just like that pale ale recipe if you can get your hands on that one too. So Verdant is another really good one to use. That's got a lot of citrusy, hazy IPA type flavors in it that would be good for any type of IPA, pale ale, etc. Yep, Sean, that's what we were just talking about. Welcome, man. I tried doing your triple decoction Pilsner, but only had 7 pounds of Pilsen. So I decoction that and then added 3 pounds of Munich at the 150-degree point. Turned out more like a Mars and Oktoberfest and a Pilsner. Yeah, because your Munich will do that, right? So it's darker malt in general, I think. And so you have a higher Lovabond number. Now the decoction part makes it more malty sweetness, and it gives some of that, like those tannins in there. But the color of my triple decoction Pilsner, Czech Pilsner, was spot on, like exactly the same color. It wasn't quite as clear because I don't filter it, but it was very similar to the non-filtered version you get at the Czech Republic. It wasn't spot on. I mean, mine was a little bit of a sweeter taste to it than the real one was, a little bit more of a crisp taste. And I think part of that just might bend my decoction numbers a little bit there, but it still turned out pretty darn good. I will definitely do that again in the future, but that is definitely a winter process because you're boiling and you're mashing and you're doing all that stuff. It's too much to do in the summer in this heat. But yeah, it's a good summer beer, but do it in the December, January timeframe in order for it to be done in like May, because it did need a little bit more time to condition too. By the way, how long did you let yours condition in the keg? Because mine needed to be cold for a while longer and then it finally like turned a corner and became really good. So it was different tasting within the first 6 to 8 weeks than it was 8 weeks plus in my fermenter or in my keg. I have a couple of keggies and Rubbermaid mash tun. Perfect. So watch the video on the Rubbermaid mash tun that I used. That's how I brewed for years on my channel. So a lot of my videos before I got the Clawhammer system are from a Rubbermaid container. All right. As much as I want to keep talking about this, we have some beers to actually brew today, or a beer to actually brew today. So we're going to start mashing out here. It's been at 170 for about 10 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to kill the heat, and we're going to stop the pump, and we're going to pull our basket out. So let me go ahead and turn off some valves in the front here. I'm going to get my, I have a pulley system that'll pull this basket out. We're going to get these grains pulled and start draining. I tell you, I'm glad I added those rice hulls in this because it is stuck pretty good on the sides and it's draining a little slower than normal. So I'm glad I did that. Even though the claw hammer, you don't have to do that, and you can mill a little bit finer than you normally would. The rice hulls are a lifesaver when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I'm glad I added it. It is draining, decently, but not as much as if I didn't have rye in there. So rye is very sticky, so I want to make sure I use those in this one. Making a little path to get some of that water down there. All right, now we'll let that drain. I don't like to start the heat just yet because I want to let this good and drain, and then I will actually take this basket off and I put it over a bucket just off the camera here on the ground, and I let it drain all that, because that last little bit of liquid that you're going to get out of there is actually going to be the most like sugary version of the liquid, and that it'll actually help your efficiency and your gravity, pre-boil gravity, if you collect it and pour back in there. And we're going to be boiling it, so it doesn't really matter if it's like super sanitized. Put it in over a bucket that's at least clean, and then you can pour it right back in there after the basket drains completely. In the meantime, I'm going to pull out a thing I use every single time too, which is my Firm Cap S. You can't read the label on it because I pulled it out so many times, but this stuff is just a little white bottle. This helps boil overs and that kind of stuff. You don't have to use this, but you have to pay attention more often when you use this, if you don't use it, I mean. So I like to keep this in the fridge too, kind of helps it preserve long term. It is liquid, but it needs to warm up a little bit. So I kind of hold it in my hand or put it out on the counter for a little bit while this is draining. And then you squeeze in about a teaspoon or so-ish as it gets up to a boil, right? So we're letting that drain. We'll see how that goes here in just a moment. In the meantime, I'm going to weigh out at least my first thing of hops, which is that Pearl hops. These say it's a ½ ounce already that they wrote on the package, but I'm just going to double check. All right, ½ ounce. So I've got my little scale, by the way. Everything I use, by the way, is in my Amazon store front. So I got a little scale like this. I put these little things on here. These I actually just picked up at like Walmart, the little condiment things. They work out perfectly for hops, so you can see them and stuff. You don't have to use those. Some people use little tasters or shot glasses or whatever too. But the scale works awesome. And by the way, anything you get on my Amazon shop, which is in the video description below, it doesn't cost you any more money. It just helps the channel out. So if you buy stuff through there, or you go through there and then you buy other stuff on Amazon, it does help the channel. They give a little kickback to me for doing that. So if you're buying stuff on Amazon anyway, go do a link and then do that. Just helps. Just another way to support the channel, man. I appreciate you guys. So anyway, let's pour this in here. 0.56, perfect for Pearl hops. Oh wait, I think I'm not. CTZ was first, but anyway, we got to do Pearl anyway. So that's Pearl. CTZ was first. So we are doing ½ ounce of that too. So see, like this one here, this one is actually 0.6 ounces of CTZ, and he didn't write the alpha acids down. Oh no, yeah, he did 14. So let's see what the alpha acids are on this recipe here. So sometimes what I do is I like to put the alpha acids into my Brewer's Friend app when I know them. This one says it's supposed to be CTZ was supposed to be 13 alpha acids. So this one's a little bit higher, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do is actually take out and make sure I'm only at ½ an ounce, because I don't want to, if my alpha acids on my pack here said like 12.5 or something like that, not 14, I might say, well, 0.6 might be fine because there's a little bit more alpha acids or a little bit less alpha acids, but because there's more, I definitely don't want more bitterness right away. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of this out to get right to ½ an ounce. Okay, so that's perfect. And it really only end up being like this much. Like there's only like 5 pellets. So in the end of the day, I'm just going to put them in there anyway. So who cares? Actually, when I put them all back in there, it said 0.56. So it's right in between there anyway. Either way, I don't mind a little extra bitterness in my beers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then we have Cascade for the end. So I've got my Pearl and my CTZ hops ready to go. And what I like to do, so I don't forget which, because they're kind of hard to tell, is I stack them together like this a lot of times. So this one is my CTZ that's going first. That way I can't grab the other one first. So I know sometimes I've been drinking a couple beers during brew day. You kind of forget, right? And then you're like, which one am I supposed to be doing first? And that's what it is. So in this case, I put them on top. I can't mess that up. So a lot of times that's what I'll do is I'll stack them unless they're really full or something like that. Then I put them in like a row so I can't grab the wrong one first, that kind of thing. So, all right. So my grains are just now getting finished out. I think most of the liquid's out of there. So what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to pull this basket off of here. Actually, you can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to pull this basket off here, put it onto a bucket, and then I'm going to start this heating element to start going up to a boil. And I do that on a manual mode on the claw hammer. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But basically, it's going to get it up to a boil, and then we're going to kind of lower it down. But either way, it's just like putting on a burner or anything else. So let me pull this thing off there. We'll get to it. All right, so we got our basket. It's draining into a bucket. I just kind of tilt it over the top of the bucket. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my heating element. I change this to manual mode. You don't have to do that, but I do it. And I kick it up to what is 100%. So it says 100 on there. It does say the temperature right here. So that's 161.9 just because we've been draining it out, right? This is 100% of the element is getting it. So I have a 240 volt temperature or probe, excuse me. And then, or not the probe, the heating element. There is a 110 version. This is going to give 100% of that power to the heating element to get it up to a boil faster. What I like to do is get that up to where it's really close and then turn it down to 63%. That's about my sweet spot. But for 110, you might need to keep it at either a temperature or make it higher. Maybe it's at like 80% or something like that. But what it's going to do is it'll keep it at a good rapid boil without being too aggressive of a boil, right? It doesn't know how fast it's boiling. And so it's going to be different depending on your elevation and everything. So Ty, man, what's up, man? Hey, you're all right. We just got done with our mash. We just pulled our mash basket. We're draining that out. I'm just starting to boil now. So you are not late at all. You're just actually getting into the fun part. AOA guitarist, what's up, man? Just finished my brew day cleaning out. What did you make? Oh, British Strong Ale. Nice. We just did British beers last month, or excuse me, was it two? Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. We did the British beers, and I had a, I don't know if that included strong ales. I don't think so. But then we did Trooper, which is a ESB version, which I still have. I might do one of those today because I might drink the last one I got. Tap water here in Utah is pretty good. I've usually used Camden tablets so far, which yes, absolutely. I watched most of your Pints and Process DIY playlist. Good. Awesome. Very good content. I appreciate you, Matt. Mine is still conditioning. It was super spicy at first. Cinnamon and baking spice. Weird. I didn't realize that. Fester all day for your um, Czech Pilsner. So a lot of lagering though. Collected the rain from Hurricane Lila last week. Made my first hazy IPA with Hurricane Hazy. Nice. That's awesome, dude. And fermentation just settled down. Should we wait till full attenuation to keg and transfer? Yes. For a hazy, absolutely. You don't want hot burn or anything like that. I would wait till it's completely done. And I let it actually sit generally at room temperature or even higher. I ramp it up to like 70 sometimes, 70, 72-ish. Let it sit there for like a week. Then I cold crash just to drop some of those hops out, because for a hazy, especially if you're adding them at like high Krausen and stuff, you can actually get a lot of hop chill haze, or not chill haze, hop burn. You can get a little bit of hop burn of those hops that are kind of in suspension. So I do cold crash those. You don't have to. You can put it in the keg. It will do it in the keg itself. Totally fine. But definitely wait until like it flatlines for like a week. I would definitely let it be done for a week. And I do that for every beer. I don't try to rush beers. One of the things that you get for off flavors is sometimes you get diacetyl and some other things because it's just not quite done cleaning it up. Plus, the beers just kind of need a week to condition out. They just do. And one thing, we're just bad about wanting to get our beers in our belly, right? But we just got to learn a little patience with beer brewing. 17A BJCP. It's basically British beer, but American strength. Heavy toffee caramel notes. That's awesome, man. That sounds like a good one. Let me, so this thing's heating up. We're getting close to a boil here. I'll adjust the camera so you can get to see all the boil action and all that kind of stuff going on. In the meantime, I'm going to add my hop spider too. So the claw hammer comes with a hop spider. It's a hop spider that I dropped on the other side. Let me grab it quick, but it's a smaller diameter. I use this 6-inch diameter one. It's a giant one here. Basically, you can see the difference in my hand. It's like pretty big, right? So this is a 6-inch diameter. The other one is like 3.5 or 2.5 or something like that. I like this one when I'm using a bunch of hops, and it sticks to the edge a little bit, so it's less likely to get clogged with this one than it is with the other one. I have 2 of these actually. These big ones. I do like the bigger ones versus the smaller ones, but if I'm doing like a Pilsner and I don't use very many hops, I'll use the smaller one. But I'll show you the difference here in a second. Let me grab that one. So the claw hammer system comes with this one. It's a little bit longer version, but it is very much smaller. So I do like the surface area of the bigger one. This one works great. It goes all the way down to the bottom of the kettle, so it has a little bit more surface area up and down, but it has its limitations. So I like having this one. This one sits on top of the. It still fits in there, even with the kind of curved element at the bottom, and so it still works. So I'm gonna throw that guy in my boil kettle real quick. Let that kind of warm up with it. One of the things I like to do too is, now that my water or my grains are kind of draining out in that bucket, I'm going to pour those back in here and the stuff that's in my lines over here. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. So there's, you guys can kind of see, I had my bucket and my basket kind of hanging over the top of that thing. It's still kind of dripping, so I'm leaving it. But I drained my hoses that have some wort in there into that pitcher, and then I poured the pitcher back into my boil kettle, right? So we're getting up to about 198 degrees or so. I'm going to add my firm cap S in here. That's that prevent boil over, and then I'm going to turn it down because it's going to start boiling here pretty soon. That's when we're going to add our first round of hops, which is CTZ at 60 minutes. So we'll I'm going to pull this thing closer so you can see on the camera as well. There, now you guys will be able to see the bubbly bubbly. All right, so we're getting pretty close. We're going to add this firm cap S. You'll see what it kind of does to the bubbles and the foam that's in there right now. It's starting to bubble a little bit in the middle. You can kind of see. It's kind of hard to see where you guys angle at, but kind of around that hop spider. So we're going to go ahead and squeeze this in there. Again, I don't really measure it out, but it's like a teaspoon or so. Then I put this back in the fridge. Then we give it a good stir around. Basically, that makes it so those bubbles pop a little faster. You can see it starting to roll boil there. So we're going to turn this thing down. All right, so 63% will make it where, like, the burner, you'll see this thing kind of blink, and the heat light right here, it turns on and it turns off. It turns on and it turns off. And basically that's going to help it so it maintains this boil for the claw hammer system. If you're just on a propane or natural gas burner or stovetop or whatever, you can obviously just adjust it. This isn't as easy to adjust, so they do this manual setting, which I really like to do. So that's pretty awesome. Northwest Small Batch Brewed in the house. What's up? Joe Mack in there. Cityscape stickers last week. Awesome, Joe. I appreciate you, man. We're just getting up to our boil. You guys are coming to a good time. We haven't even added our first round of hops yet, and we are in my garage. So far, it's not steamy, but I'm going to have to open up the garage door in a minute. I do have a fan and my air conditioner going just to keep it relatively cool in here, but it's going to get hot once we have to open up the garage door. So, because it'll get steamy in here. So let me add our first round of hops. Again, we are doing a Rye Pale Ale. Thanks to Paul Wetzel. He did a pickup for me for brew supply ingredients at Alternative Beverage. That was awesome. Great way to support the channel. He's the man. But we got the I 3D printed those, Paul, just so you know, the tap handles behind me. I'll talk about those in a second. So the first round of hops we have are CTZ hops. They are going in. Let's give them a little sniff. Ooh. Ooh, I like this, the difference between Pearl and that. You can smell the difference. So CTZ hops going in for our boil. We're going to start our timer right now. It is, let's just call it 140. So I'll wait till 140 and we'll drop these guys in there. Wait till that goes. Well, actually, these are a little bit higher anyway. We have a few extras, so we're just going to throw them in. Bloop. All right, there it is. So we put those in our hop spider. I like to, once in a while, throughout the process, dunk those up and down a little bit. So I'll take my hot pad here and I'll actually pick this thing up and I'll let it kind of drain out to get those oils off of the hops. Right. So I'll do this a couple times throughout the boil. You'll see me do that throughout the day today. But we're not using a lot of hops. That was only a half an ounce. We only have a half an ounce at 30 minutes of the Pearl, and then we have a bunch at the end. And then if we need to, we'll use even a separate hop spider if it's starting to get clogged up. But shouldn't be too bad. So let me see what we got going on here. Losing my mind. Okay, so we got this. We got 140. I like to write my stuff down, which we're going to do in a minute. I'll show you my brew day supply sheets that I use all the time, which channel members have access to. So we got 140 for first hops. I will weigh out. I am going to be using some of my homegrown Cascade hops for those who weren't with us. Oh, one thing that's what I was forgetting to do. I was like, I'm missing something here. I always like to do a pre-boil gravity. So I have a medicine dropper. I just grab a little tiny bit. I let that kind of cool down in the medicine dropper like this. Just grab, all you need is a little tiny bit to go on my refractometer. So that's what I like to do because I like to record everything. So on my brew day sheet. So I'll pull one of those out and I'll kind of show you what I mean. But I have a problem. We are out of beer in my glass. This was the Fru Kolsch. I'm going to be drinking one of the California Commons that I made. If you guys have not watched that video, go check it out. It's the one that Craft to Brew helped sponsor. And Craft to Brew will give you 20% off brew ingredients if you go to crafttobrew.com and then you put in, when you're checking out, put in Cityscape Brewing, 20% off your beer ingredients. Dude, awesome, man. 20% off, that's huge. So it's not just 10, it's not just 5, 20% off your beer ingredients, man. That's huge. Let me get a refill of the California Common, and then I want to talk about that a little bit because this beer is a unique style, very different than other beers that I've ever brewed before. This is a style I have not brewed before. Yeah, Paul, these are tap handles I 3D printed with my 3D printer. So it goes hops, hops, yeast, or excuse me, hops, malt, water, and yeast. Yeast is just kind of like particles, basically. And I made those. I had to kind of tailor them a little bit. I've used a lot of different things, 3D printing in the past, but recently. I think the Brew Show, I'm going to give him all the credit because he really got me into that after he did like a 3D printing episode, and I went down a rabbit hole and I've 3D printed all kinds of crap now, and more than I care to admit. But that was awesome. And the first things I did was start thinking of tap handles. Well, these tap handles were supposed to be longer and the threading wasn't as good in them. So I actually had to modify them through using a Fusion 360 app, which is basically AutoCAD. And playing around with it, but it was really trial and error. So I had to shrink them a little bit because my freezer door would hit them. If you can tell, it kind of rubs a little bit on, a little tiny bit. You probably heard that on the grain one, just a tiny bit here. But the freezer would hit them. They only can be like 4 inches because of where I have my tap handles. Unless I like put a bolt, like a bracket that held those doors together and they opened at the same time, then I could use those big taller ones, right? But I didn't have those, so I need to modify them. But I really like the fact that they have the 4 ingredients of beer, and then I put those 4 ingredients of beer. You can't really see right here, so it tells people what they have. By the way, the hazy IPA I have up there, you haven't seen yet. It's on a future video, but one of the best top 3 beers I've ever made, period. I've made a lot of beers. Top 3, not even close to kidding, is awesome. You guys, I cannot wait to share that video with you guys. It turned out so good. Like, so good. I'm going to have one today, so I'll share it with you. But back to this one. California Common. This is the Craft to Brew one. This one, it's hard to tell. Where'd my thing go? Here we go. I'm using this light just so you guys can see what I mean. This is actually fairly clear, believe it or not. You can kind of see the light and stuff through there. It's not super clear, but it's pretty clear. It's not brilliantly clear, and it's hard to tell because it's getting kind of steamy in my garage. I'm gonna have to open up the garage door in a minute. But it is, the glass gets condensation on it all the time. But you can kind of see my hand through there, right? So it's pretty relatively clear in there. And I will say, great beer, very different beer than I thought I've ever brewed before. It reminds me kind of a mix between like a Vienna lager, ESB type of flavor, but it's got this like almost like minty hoppiness from those Northern Brewer hops. It's really freaking good. The Trooper Pale Ale that we had last week, the British Pale Ale, it's kind of that good, but it's got this kind of minty, spicy characteristic to it that I can't really describe, and it's more crisp than that. So this is a freaking fantastic beer. We actually used Kolsch yeast for this one, which I was surprised when I opened the package. He was surprising me with the whole entire recipe, and and I said, just give me something fall, like late summer, early fall that people can brew that's different than everything else you're going to see, like the Fest beers and the Vienna lagers and the Munichs and, whatever that kind of stuff. And so he did not disappoint, came through and sent me a kit. And I just told him, surprise me. I really don't even want to know what it is until I get it in the mail. And so I opened it up. I'm like, California Common, good call. Okay, I haven't brewed one of those before. And it's been a while since I even tasted one of those because you can't really get them a lot of places. It's hard to find. And so I was able to get those. I was able to get that recipe from Crafted Brew. They gave me coal sheets because I was like, coal sheets. They recommend something different on the sheet, and I was like, that's kind of odd, right? So but the more I did research into it, I'm like, boy, it actually is a pretty good recommended yeast for a California Common. So it turned out really freaking good. I think some of the kind of flavor characteristics probably came from that Kolsch yeast. But man, this is a great one. They got awesome, cool kits on Crafted Brew too. I might even order one of their 5-gallon kits for something else that I haven't brewed before, because it's a good idea to kind of just try some different things once in a while. But they're a good online supply store and trying to get on their feet. They did a lot of like the extract type kits, and now they're getting into the all grain market, and I think that's kind of where it's at, right? So they sent everything, was all packaged nicely. Great instructions, by the way. The instructions were like spot on. I didn't really have anything that I could have corrected them on the instructions. I thought it was really good. Very, very cool. So give Crafted Brew a look if you haven't looked at their website, and then check out their ingredients. When you do check out and you buy some stuff, Cityscape Brew at or not Gmail. That's my email address. Right now, going across the screen, you can Cityscape Brew, get some stickers. Anyway, but if you check out, use Cityscape Brewing as a discount code, and it gets you 20% off. So freaking awesome, man. It's just so super cool. Thanks for Crafted Brew for reaching out and wanting to supply some ingredients for a video. That was cool. How much oil do you use? I remember a bunch of chat NB forums about 15 years ago about using a drop of olive oil. Oh, for the firm cap, you mean? Yeah, I was trying to think what you're thinking about. So I have not done canola oil or olive oil in there. I think the oil would probably help. So one of the things I'm worried about is head retention later. And if there's oil slick on there, it would kind of go to the top. And so you just wouldn't be able to maybe get that maybe towards, I don't know. You wouldn't want to get it into your fermenter at all, because it would kind of settle out as you're kind of cooling down, I guess. But I don't know that I would add oil to it. This isn't the same type of thing as that from what I understand, but I have no idea. Yes, that's another thing, Fester All Day, that if I didn't have Firm Cap S, I would use this. This is a bottle Star San I keep on on my beer fridge at all times over off the side over here. I just hang it on there. And I would put this, instead of like on a spray mode, I would put this on like a mist mode, and you can spray the stuff. So this stuff will not hurt your beer one bit. I would use that for anything that like boil over wise in a pinch. You could probably just use regular water too. Anything that's going to really help break those bubbles up, but the Star San kind of does it as well. So you don't have to worry about that. All right, let's test my gravity reading here since we got that done. All right, we got a little on the refractometer. First of all, let's see what it's supposed to be. Pre-boil gravity was supposed to be, and it says on my sheet here, pre-boil gravity is supposed to be 1.048 based on recipe estimate. And I am right at, man, I wish I could show you guys this. Maybe I'll try to hold it up to the webcam. It is 1.049. So awesome. This is not going to work at all. That's not going to work at all. You're just going to have to trust me. 1.049, actually probably right between 4.9 and 5.0, which is just over 12.2 bricks. So they're, but yeah, that's, it's super close. It's spot on basically. So 1.049 for my pre-boil gravity. That's great. We're looking at a original gravity of 1.058, which I usually get about 10 points different. So that's about right. So that's about right. Now, again, my efficiency with the claw hammer is going to be different than everyone else's. Mine is 72%, which is not high. Claw Hammer doesn't have a great efficiency in it because it's an all-in-one system. You're going to get better efficiency even out of like a Rubbermaid container. I frequently got into the 80s with that 78 to 82% efficiency because I was rinsing grains, right? But at a homebrew scale, it's not that big of a deal, so you don't have to do that as much. But for this one, great reading. I'm very happy with that. We'll put this a little bit back into the kettle, and then we will test this again as we get close to the end. So we pitched, for those who are just starting, we are doing a rye IPA from Paul's recipe. He calls the Alistair Williams Rye American Pale Ale. So it's a rye pale ale. It has we have done our mash. We are into our boil. We are now adding our CTZ hops. CTZ hops we have here. We had pearl hops that we're going to add at the 30-minute mark, which we are about 20 minutes away from. We started the boil at about 1:40 p.m. It's 1:51 right now on my thing here. Whoop. Sorry, let's get off of that. Go back to my thing here. So that is the recipe. We talked a lot about all grain brewing and that kind of stuff because we got some folks that are just kind of starting out. And I love hearing from people who are just getting started. So if you're new, join in the chat. Don't feel like you need to be like a brewing connoisseur to ask a question kind of stuff. There's a lot of people who brew in here all the time. There's some people who never brew at all or just getting started. I love to answer those questions too. Put them in the chat, right? Live questions in the chat. That's what it's all about. It's not just me that can help. It's everybody that can help everybody. It's all brewers helping brewers, man. We're all friends. We're all doing that. Also, awesome way to support the channel, become a channel member. By the way, these guys that have the green names that you'll see pop up on the screen, they get exclusive things like I have some exclusive recipes for members only. I actually have my brew day sheets, which we're going to show in a little bit, and then they get to watch my videos early. I post them a couple days in advance, and if you get to watch them first before everybody else, you also help support the channel. It's like $2, $3 a month. I think $2.99 or something like that a month. You get to be a channel member, and by being a channel member, it helps me do this kind of stuff. I stopped doing live feed ads except for today. Today's a 3-hour brew day. I am going to put ads on this one. I do expect to leave this one on the channel for a long time, so I'm going to do ads. On my regular lives for Sunday nights every other week, I stopped doing lives for ads. And the reason is I don't make any money, zero, zilch, right? It's all channel members giving back to the channel that help support me doing this thing and doing the live brew days and doing the BJCP style tastings and all that kind of stuff. The reason we're doing it is creating this cool community of people to talk about beer brewing. That's what it's about. And in the future, I actually have a bunch of people that are interested in coming on the channel in the fall. And so I actually have a day that I'm scheduling next week to actually reach out to a whole bunch more people. We're going to have a calendar. One thing I haven't always done is had a calendar of like when I'm going to be on my lives that I can post on my channel, and then who those people are going to be that are going to be on or the BJCP style guidelines. Maybe we'll actually pick the beer styles and not just 2 weeks in advance, right? Let people go out and get them a couple weeks in advance and say like, hey, cool. Yeah. So-and-so is going to be on Dennis's channel, Cityscape Brewing in November, right? That's my whole goal, is that next year we're a little bit more planned for these live events, right? So it's not just kind of a wing it thing, which we've kind of done over the last like year or so, which is kind of fun too, but here it is. So that's the goal, and live members or channel members help kind of support the channel. So you guys are awesome. Appreciate every one of you guys, the people who are jumping on here all the time and helping out Paul for buying some ingredients and kind of supporting this brew day, even though he's like, I don't want to be a channel member because I have to put him all my stuff in YouTube. That's cool. He supports a different way, and that's awesome. He bought all these ingredients for today. Can't thank you enough for doing that. That's why we're doing the live brew. It's because of Paul. So because of him, he's the one why we're even doing this today in the first place. But with that said, let me pick up a couple things around here that I have for a mess, and then I'm going to kind of finish up my other beer, but I want to talk about a beer that I have on the channel next. My next video is going to be this hazy IPA that I brewed. I want to share it with you. It's awesome, but I might try the Trooper Ale first and then go into the hazy as we're getting closer to the end of the boil. So let me know in the comments, you guys, if you have any questions. Also, what your guys are brewing, what you're drinking right now, what you're planning on brewing, what you want me to see, or what you want to see on the channel for the fall beers, right? I have a bunch of recommendations people brought up about fall beers. We have an awesome porter recipe that just got posted on my page that I want to brew this winter. Also, there is and that's for everybody, by the way. That was one that we had a couple weeks ago, and there is also a option for some type of Christmas spice beer, right? So I haven't brewed a kind of traditional seasonal spiced beer, and I think that's something we got to do this year, right? I've brewed a pumpkin spice. I've brewed other fall beers, of all other winter beers. I've done the celebration ale a bunch of times that they come out in the fall, but I haven't done a truly a holiday spiced beer, and that might be one we need to do for sure. But yeah, California Common, definitely check that one out. Really good beer. All right, let me clean up a couple things. Let me know in the comments what you guys are drinking. We're going to get these Cascade hops weighed out also in just a second. Be right back in 1 second here. All right, sorry about that. Let's see here. Joe says drinking a hop knuckle IPA. Killed the keg of it last night. 14 days, 5 gallons. It must have been good, man. Hop knuckle IPA. What's that? Let me know what's in that one. What kind of hops and stuff did you put in there? Alfonso, what's up, man? Brewed a Marzen last week. Good one to brew this time of year for sure. Beer keg is empty, so need to brew a 5 gallon batch soon, Joe. Yes, absolutely. You definitely do. That's why I keep 4. That's right. You gotta have the options. All right, it's getting a little steamy. I'm going to open the garage door. It's going to get a little bit different lighting, but hopefully I can adjust it if we need to, and we'll get from there. And then I'm going to weigh out these Cascade hops in a big old bowl I got over here. All right, I don't want to open it too much, and I don't want to invite a bunch of flies in here, so we'll see what happens in a little bit. but it is getting some steaminess in here. We can turn this off. I got an air conditioner. I'm turning it off. We can turn off the turn it on the garage door later, but I'm going to leave this open. It is sunny out there, so it's going to look a little different, but that's okay. We'll get a little bit of fresh breeze as we're doing it. I got a fan over here. All right. So we got our Cascade hops are our last hops that we're going to add for this recipe. I have my Pearl hops, which are going in at 30 minutes, which will be in about 10. So we got about 10 minutes left. We're going to add our Pearl hops. We have those all weighed out, half ounce there. Last one is going to be Cascade at 10 minutes left. And then we have a half ounce of Cascade at 1 minute left. So basically flame out hops. So you add those and then you flame out. I'm going to put those in the hop spider for sure, because I don't want any of that stuff getting sucked in through my plate chiller. I do have a counterflow chiller I could use as well. I might actually put in my other hop spider for the whole cone hops just to keep them separated a little bit, but we'll see how it goes first. So let's see. Sorry, I got somebody to text me, and I just want to make sure it wasn't anything important. Oh, it's my buddy Adam, who comes on here sometimes. He actually just said he was doing some stuff later and asked if I wanted to do something, but I am doing a live brew day with you guys today and maybe later. All right, so we have whole cone Cascade hops. These are the ones that grew in my garden this year. This one lost its vacuum seal, so I'm using this one even though I have some 2025 left. This is an ounce of Cascade. I have a little bit of these flower hops that were just kind of the first ones I picked off here, just in a little baggie, so I'm going to use those. And I have a half ounce or so of the pellet version hops. I'll probably use these in the first go because they are the known alpha acids. I don't know what the alpha acids are of my Cascade hops that are from my own hop vines, and because I don't test them, those are just going to be flavor and aroma hops, because we just want to use that all for flavor and aroma. So we're going to do that. I have a big bowl, and I'm going to use that to test it. For flower cones, you need something a little bit bigger. So we're going to tear my little thing here, and I'm going to actually add the pellet hops in first, and then we're going to add the flower cone hops on top of that. But I'm going to, because I want to add these in there for the alpha acids, because I know at least what those are. I do have a scissors around here. Where's that at? Also at 10 minutes, I'm going to be adding a Whirlflock tablet and some yeast nutrient to help out the yeast. And then we got to weigh out my yeast itself as well, because I have a whole brick of that, like I was talking about before. All right, so before I do the bowl, I have a little pellet hop thing. Let's see how much this is. I think it's about a half ounce. Yes, exactly about a half ounce. So we're going to do that. Then that means I need a half ounce of my whole cone hops. Tear that guy. And again, these are ones I just picked like a couple of days ago. There weren't even that long. Cut this guy open. Pour some in. And I like to add sometimes, because I just don't know, for whole cone hops, I like to add like almost like 10% more, right? So I'm going to add, instead of adding like a half ounce, I'm going to add like 0.6 or something. We take a couple of the smaller ones out. Yeah, like I'm going to leave it at like 0.6 or so, because I just don't know how much alpha acids are actually in there. And just for fun, I'm going to actually put that in there. So I have about 0.6 of the flour cones here that I'm going to add in there, along with the ½ ounce of pellet hops, which are right here. So I'm going to put that kind of in the same bowl, so don't forget. And then I have to have, that's the 1 ounce at 10 minutes. Then I have a ½ ounce that it says at flame out. So we'll add another ½ ounce after I pour that. And I have that in here. So I'm just going to use the rest of those. It's probably pretty close to a ½ ounce for the rest of that, but we'll see. I'm brewing 10-gallon of Northern Brewers Fat Tire recipe. The Fat Tire is like the clone version of the actual Fat Tire from, oh my God, I'm drawing the blank on the name. It's in Asheville also. Oh man, why am I not thinking of the name? Who makes Fat Tire, the regular Fat Tire? Starts with a N, I think. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, help me out here. Drawing a blank on the name. Not Sierra Nevada, the big like bicycle, and there's a bicycle logo. Oh my God, I don't know. I can't think of the name. But anyway, yes, Fat Tire is a good beer. It's a New Belgium. That's what it is. God, man, I couldn't think of the thing. It starts with an N. I said, and I couldn't think of the name. New Belgium Brewery makes Fat Tire, but yeah, their Fat Tire spelled differently is probably their clone of that. That's pretty cool. I like Fat Tire. That's like a Bock style? Is Fat Tire a Bock beer? I can't remember what Fat Tire is. Fat Tire beer style. Amber American Ale. That's what it says. Is that right? New Belgium was originally decades American Ale. American craft beer, yeah, American Amber Ale, but the brewery updated its recipe in a brighter, crisper, golden blonde ale now. Okay, brighter. So they changed the recipe a little while ago. It used to be, I thought it was like a Bock because it was so amber, but yeah. Amber ale, toasty biscuit-like malt sweetness. Yep, that kind of thing. So yeah, that it's been a while since I had a Fat Tire, to be honest with you. Yeah, New Belgium. Ty, you're on it. You guys are, Emmett's on it. Is that the OG Fat Tire recipe and the newer flat tire? Yeah, probably. It's the New Belgium recipe from about 20 years ago. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. When I first was into New Belgium, it was more like a Bock, like amber, thicker, or whatever. And so it sounds like they just changed it recently to make it more like golden blonde ale, which is crazy, right? So if you go to New Belgium, and after I put in my birth date so they know I'm not 12, I can actually get in here. If you go to Northern Brewers website, the Fat Tire, they talk about it here. And it's definitely more golden than it used to be. But this is the classic ale, so I don't know if they have a different one that's introduced an entire generation to craft beer. Yes, I agree. That one's true. That and Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale, with an unwavering commitment to. Okay, this is their whole thing. I don't want to know their origin story. Let's learn more about the beer itself. I just put my stuff in there. Okay. Beer details. That's what I want. Stop doing the cookies. Yeah, see, now I'm starting to get the flies in here. I tell you. Shouldn't have to do the things, but it is what it is. All right. Fine Fat Tire, brewing. Fat Tire is unique. Oh, here we go. So we got the ABV, IBUs, Ale House yeast. Okay, so that's their duh. Hops is Triumph. HBC 522 and Barb Rogue. Well, those are probably hard to find hops. Are you getting those hops in yours? In your Fat Tire recipe? That's interesting. Pale C, Pale, Crystal 80, Munich, and Raw Barley. Okay, Raw Barley. That's interesting too. I wouldn't have thought of that either. Huh. Interesting. That's cool. All right, so yeah, I like that they put this kind of stuff on here. The ABV, IBUs, that kind of stuff is actually, and the hops that they use. That's awesome for homebrewers, man. I love when breweries do that. Another one that I'm doing this fall, by the way, is the Pernicious IPA clone. I know I've been talking about that a little bit. I love Pernicious IPA, and if you can't get it close to here from Wicked Weed, you definitely need to brew that beer. It is such a wildly different West Coast version of a IPA. It's super clean and crisp and clear. It doesn't have any crystal malts. It's interesting, but it is a really good IPA. Definitely one that I want to brew this fall. Definitely different than the stuff I've been brewing lately on my channel. So with that, I have this beer, which is the Craft to Brew Steam Beer, or AKA California Common. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out. It's awesome. If you haven't gone and bought recipe ingredients yet, do that. crafttobrew.com. You get 20% off your ingredients if you use the code Cityscape Brewing at checkout. 20%, man. That's if you're gonna buy ingredients anyway, go get 20% off, man. That's what it is. And from what I saw, there were actually relatively comparable prices on there too for all their ingredients. So awesome. Go check them out and help support another homebrew supply. The idea is, if we get more competition in the kind of recipe ingredients space, you get better prices. And that's just how supply and demand, man. That's how it works. All right. So next, I'm going to pour a Trooper ESB, and then I will pour my hazy IPA, which is the one should I do that first? Okay, let's do a vote. Who votes that I showcase and do a little sneak peek of my hazy IPA that I'm going to be doing on my next video and show you guys? Or should I do the Trooper Pale Ale first? The Trooper Pale Ale is the ESB from Britain. Is this one here. It is the Trooper Cheshire, England, 4 points. This is the one we did last brew day. Should I drink this next, or should I do the hazy IPA? Paul says hazy. Who's in with him? Or the Trooper? We can do it. We'll probably do both today, but who thinks I should do that one first? This one is just more in line with the beer I just had. Joe says IPA too. 2-0. Anyone think I should do the other one first? Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I'm gonna drink a beer either way. Let's see what we got. So this, I'll give you a little sneak peek here. This recipe that I brewed for this hazy IPA, by the way, is amazing. It's again, top 3 beers I've ever brewed, period, in my entire life. And I do not take that lightly. Very good. I had a hiccup during brew day where I didn't have one of the hops that I wanted to use. And so I used a hop that I just had on hand, which is a hop I'd never used before. And you might have seen me show this on the previous lives. I have a whole bunch of these experimental hops called New Zealand, which are the NZH214 hops. Here, I have a whole bunch of these, and I only needed like a packet of this, but it's pronounced tropical papaya, stone fruit, apricot flavors from New Zealand hops. And it's a NZH, just like a HBC number, which is our experimental hop beer numbers before they name them. This is an experimental hop from New Zealand, NZH214. And I had a whole bunch of these in 1 ounce packages. And I decided, you know what? I'm just going to use these. I don't care. There's similar alpha acids in the right times I needed them. Most of that for a hazy, I'm throwing them towards the end anyway. Who cares, right? So here we are. I'm going to throw these in this beer. That's what I did for this one. So pretty kind of cool. I'm gonna actually pour that hazy IPA, and we're gonna check it out. Let me share my boil process here. Look at this. Even with the garage door open now, you can't really see the boiling going on as much. Sorry about that, guys. But either way, so let's pour a hazy, and we'll check it out. Let's see where we're at. We are losing track of time here, so I want to make sure we're not. Oh, yeah, we needed to pour our pearl hops in. So just FYI, we're going in 30 minutes. We're actually 4 minutes late. That's okay. We're going to throw these in. We'll actually go a little longer. And boop, down the hatch. See, that's why I write this stuff down so I don't go too crazy. Me talking and getting off the side here. So I had those at 2:14 instead of 2:10, which is where I need to be. So they're like 4 minutes late, 5 minutes late-ish. That's okay. We're going to, we'll add the other ones a couple minutes early for the cascade, and we'll make up for it. How's that? Okay, so those are Pearl. Those went in 30 minutes. We're 30 minutes in. We're halfway done with our boil. I will put up the Trooper then. We'll have this afterwards, and then I will do the hazy. All right, hazy IPA going. Pouring. A little bit of a residualness in my glass, so it foamed up a little more than normal. But look at that thing! Oh my god, no comments needed. Are you kidding me? Look at that thing. That thing is perfection in a glass. And I will tell you what, the aromas on this thing is like none other. Like I'm like literally putting my head in a fruit bowl and sniffing. I mean, that's what this looks like. I mean, that's what it smells like. This is definitely one of the best beers I've ever brewed, period. Like, just hands down, aroma wise, it's probably the best beer I've ever brewed. Like, aroma wise, it is. And there's a fan on 3, like a box fan, like blowing on me, and I still smell like all the fruit. Like, it is crazy. It is how, like, I describe it in detail on my video, so I don't even want to tell you what it is, but it's like, whew, it's so good. So good. When are we scared of yeast cake when kegging a hazy? Are you saying when are we getting rid of the yeast cake when kegging a hazy? I don't bring it into the keg. I cold crash and then I transfer it in. Where's Enclave? That bro must be nocturnal. I know, right? Like this is his game. Like his is probably like Saturday night. He's probably out drinking beers. Let's be honest. It's like this is his like middle of 6 hours later. So he's at like 8 o'clock ish. Right. Anyway, so yeah, look at this hazy. Oh, like there's words on the other side of this glass. You can't see them because the beer is so deliciously hazy. You can't see the black lettering that's on that side of it. Crazy. So good. So good. I'm telling you, can't wait for this video to come out. You guys are in for a treat. Oh my God. I can't even. I don't even want to tell you what it tastes like because holy shit, it is good. So good. Wow. Anyway, great beer. I mean, I'm going to have a hard time not drinking the crap out of this thing, but I'm already thinking to myself, like, I need to bottle the shit out of this beer and put it into some competitions because it's good. It's good. I probably do another batch of that, to be honest with you. So anyway, I think a lot of it has to do with these hops. I might add some more of them. The next one is good. Banging beers. It's 8 a.m. in Hawaii. Hey, welcome to the morning. Are you still drinking coffee or Africa is 12 hours behind that? So 8 p.m. Yes, exactly. Right. So he's at prime. He's on prime time, man. You should be having a beer with us right now. I'm going to give him some shit if he jumps on later. All right. So we are about 10 minutes away from adding our first round of Centennial hops. I don't want to forget to do that. So let's not forget to do that. Help me remember, guys. We are also about 10 minutes away from adding some yeast nutrient, which I have here. I only have like a teaspoon left of this, so I'm just dumping this thing in there. And then I have a Whirl Flock tablet in here. I'm actually gonna just pour all that stuff together right now. Well, no, I'll just leave it in there so it doesn't get all sticky because it's getting humid outside right now, like humid. And so I don't want to say it's gonna get all sticky if I open that thing and pour it in like a little cup. But we got the whole cone flour hops, and then we have the little bit of about an ounce right now of hops in there right now. So I'm gonna lift this thing up and get those hop oils kind of moving around in there a little bit. I like to do this a little bit, get off the sides, and then kind of lift it up. And see how it's draining out of there? It's draining slow, even with like 1 ounce of hops in these things. So they do they're magic. But I like to just bounce it up and down a little bit and get the stuff off the walls, move it back and forth a little bit. It helps just move around those hop oils a little bit and getting those hop oils into the beer. So if you just let them sit in there, sometimes it can create like a little barrier on the outside of those. Another thing you can do, which I do often, is just take my paddle and like stick it in and just rub the sides of this thing really good to like release it, and that'll help do that as well. And then a little bit of hop matter gets in there, not a huge deal. The main reason why I don't want the hop matter in there, some people just pour it right in, is because it will clog my plate chiller. There's no problem with just adding hops right into your boil, but then you have to worry about how you chill it. If you use an immersion chiller, no big deal whatsoever. I actually, for the longest time, I actually didn't worry about that. I just put them in there and then I put them all in my fermenter and they just dropped out. And that's probably not the worst thing to do. You can do that if you want to. Even when I started using like a kettle to just boil for my natural gas or propane, I created what I call a hop spider, which I think I have a version of that. Yeah, it's sitting right here. Hold on. And it even has the thing in it just for fun. So this is a hop spider. There's a DIY video on how to make one of these on my channel. So it's basically just a PVC flange. You can also do this out of metal if you want to. And then it's these long carriage bolts that come into a couple bolts that are on the inside. There's a pipe clamp that's on the top here that I've just tightened up enough where I can slide it on and off with my hands. Then you take a paint strainer bag like this one. This is a nylon or a silicone, paint strainer bag. And it is, you can use these for 5-gallon sizes or 1 gallon. I use them 1 gallon ones for dry hopping a lot. You can buy these at a Home Depot or Lowe's or any home improvement store. But you can also get them on Amazon in packs for like super cheap. Again, check my Amazon store that's in the link in the video description. I have like a pack of these things that I use. I buy them all the time. And then you can reuse these a lot of times too. So you can use them over and over and over again until they start getting kind of crappy. But the packs that you buy online for like 15 of them are the same price you buy like 2 at like Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. So you put that thing through the bottom hole and then you pull it up and wrap it around the top. And then you put this little pipe clamp on to secure it to hold like all the hops. This thing can hold like six ounces or more. Actually, I've probably done like up to 10 ounces of hops in it. It's a huge surface area, and you can lift this thing up and down out of the boil kettle all day long, right? So this thing's really awesome. I used this for decades. I mean, not quite 1 decade. I probably used it for like 10 years. But before I got like into this thing, and I could probably use this still in this pot, I would just need to make sure that this part doesn't touch, like the bottom part doesn't touch the element of the claw hammer, because that gets hotter where it might start like singeing this thing and like leaking. I just haven't done it in this claw hammer system, but you totally can do that, right? These things clog really easy. The other way that I prevent hops from getting in there is by whirlpooling, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So I put that back. But anyway, I don't like the hop bags or spiders, more flavor from straight additions. Agreed. So whirlpool plus a strainer. So I don't use the strainer anymore. I strictly whirlpool, and if I whirlpool, I'm worried that I'm gonna. I have 2 types of chillers now. Oh, I actually have 3 because I still have my immersion chiller, but I don't use my immersion chiller anymore. I have a plate chiller, and then I have my counterflow chiller, which a counterflow chiller looks like. I think everybody is familiar with what a plate chiller looks like, and it's hooked up, so everybody knows what that looks like. But the counterflow chiller looks like this. This is the claw hammer version. They sell this one on their website. Not all of them have to be stainless steel like this, but this is awesome that it is. This one, it has a in and out for water. So you have your water in, water out, or vice versa. And then your hop in and out, or vice versa. It doesn't matter, but you want to go in opposite directions. So I put my hop in, and then my my wort in, my wort out, and then my water in and my water out here. So what this does, it has 2 basically tubes and each of these bigger coils. This has a bigger diameter on the inside than the plate chiller does, and it prevents the hop matter from like collecting in there and clogging up, right? And so it'll go quicker through there. If you're adding a bunch of hops in your boil kettle itself, then the chances are you're not going to be able to strain them before it gets to your plate chiller. It can clog up with a pump. So rather than doing that, the benefit of using this guy is that I can actually put a whirlpool arm on and prevent as much of the hop matter from getting in, but then also the counterflow chiller, if some does get through there, especially right at first when you're starting to whirlpool right away, then the idea is it won't clog your pump or your chiller. So let me show you the whirlpool arm that Clawhammer has for this thing. So pretty simple deal. Actually, apartment brewer Steve from Apartment Brewer, he actually helped Clawhammer kind of come up with this guy. This thing is super simple, right? It's just an arm. It goes down the bottom, has a little elbow, and it comes up and it hooks on the edge of your kettle like this. This is a already soldered on or basically welded on end that will connect to one of the quick connects, and then this thing fits inside of your kettle. Down on the rim. I'm not going to put it in this side because I'm not actually using it today, but it hooks on the edge of this kettle, goes over the top, and then you can hook it up and run your wort through it. When it goes into the kettle, when this thing comes out, it spins around in a circle because it's going towards the edge of the kettle. So it's because of this elbow, it's spinning the wort around and it makes a nice cone in the bottom of your kettle. I'll actually show you what that looks like because I have a whole bunch of pictures and a video of that. If you haven't watched my channel to where I've used this before, I want to show you what it looks like. It's very cool to watch it actually like in action. It's very neat. So let me get to that thing and I'll kind of show you what I mean. So the whirlpool arm is awesome. It creates a nice cone. You'd be surprised how much like actual hop debris stays in your kettle and not actually goes through the chiller, and thus it prevents it from actually getting into your fermenter, which isn't the end of the world if it gets in there, but the less hop matter you have in there, the less, a little bit of off flavors and stuff can get from it, right? I passed it. Went down too far. Okay. Hold on. Where am I at? All right, let me see where I'm at. So I just did a bunch for my hazy IPA because I'll put them all in there. Here we go. So let me show you. So in this screen shot here, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So the whirlpool arm goes down to the bottom and it angles over. As you are chilling down, it starts swirling the wort in a circle like this. And as this has the out part of my kettle has a little elbow, goes down to the bottom. I am going to make a little hop dam thing, and I actually told Clawhammer about that. It'd be kind of cool to create some type of hop trube dam that prevents even more from coming towards the outlet here. But basically, this thing will create this nice cone. All this is hop debris from the hop pellets, right? Isn't that crazy? And so you can put all that stuff in there. And then when you get down, this is basically down to the last like quarter of an inch because this thing is getting down maybe last like a half an inch or so from the bottom. And it is crazy how very little hops actually get into the fermenter. It starts pulling a little bit towards the end and then I stop. So here's where it's getting towards. I think this is the video kind of showing it. Yeah, here you go. So you can kind of see the hop cones that forms. It's still sucking out at this point. It's not recirculating because I'm going into a fermenter, but you can kind of see it's still sucking out of this outlet, and the hop cone has stayed completely in the middle. It's starting to separate a little bit as it gets down, and then I stop the video and I stop my pump as it starts kind of getting into that little inlet. So I stop that. But anyway, pretty good, cool little device that they've come up with for whirlpooling there. It helps out a lot. All right, we are right at 10 minutes. We're going to add our Cascade hops. We got 1 ounce at 10 minutes. I've got some little bit of pellet hops, which are going in. And then we have a little bit of the whole cone hops just because I didn't have a ton of pellet hops for Cascade, but I grow them. So I'm going to throw these guys in there. By the way, those will go through that little elbow, even though there's only like a little tiny bit. The suction on that pump is pretty good. So I don't want to chance it. I put them in the hop spider, even when I use a lot of them. All right, going to give that a good stir around. Now, also at 10 minutes, we're going to be using some yeast nutrient. This is going to help us with our USO5. So I'm going to get ahead of this and put that in there. It's about a tablespoon or so I use each time. There's only about that much left, so I just dumped it in. And then I use a Whirlflock tablet, which helps with the finding agents, which will help separate the proteins and stuff out and drop those out right away in the fermentation process. And so I use this. It says to crush it up, just throw it in there. But I don't put that in a hop spider, just chuck it in. And then we'll give it a good stir. All right, we got 10 minutes left in our boil. One thing I need to do is get my USO5 weighed out. It's 11.5 grams. I'm going to probably put, because it's a big brick of it, and I don't know how old it is because I got it from brewery, I'm going to probably put a little bit more, probably more like 13, 14 grams in there, maybe-ish, just to make sure I have enough to ferment. I also need to take my big bucket here, get a half more ounce of the Cascade for the flame out hops. So I've got my Cascade flower hops that I grow. I'm going to throw these things in there as well. Get a half ounce in my bucket. Again, I don't mind being a little bit over because I don't know how many alpha acids are in. This says 0.6, it's bouncing between 0.63, 0.67-ish. Perfect. That's whatever. We're going to add those to the end. They're all flavor and aroma anyway, and we get some good flavors and aromas. I don't care. So we're going to throw all of my garbage away. I'm going to grab one more of these little guys from my inside because I'm out of them out here. And then I've got to weigh out my USO5 as we get close to. Ooh, we're starting to raise up here. What's going on? Look at that. See that? See all the foam? That is from the Cascade hops and all the lupulin stuff that's in there. But my Firm Cap S is doing its job. See how it's like really, it's starting to go up, but it's not. But it's not. And so that could have been a boil over had we not put in our Firm Cap S. But I'm going to go stir it around. Smells like Cascade. Nice. So, see what I mean? Firm Cap S, man, still doing its job towards the end of the boil. Perfect, perfect. Bazooka strainers, but mine always gets clogged, so I don't use it anymore. Yeah, some of the strainers are hard. I tried to strain before I got into the hops and stuff, and it's just hard. You get clogged, then you have to dump, and then you get clogged, and you have to stop all the time. I just said, you know, if I can prevent it from getting through out of the kettle, that's the best way. So whether it's a hop spider or not, whatever. The hop spiders, I know people have their pros and cons of whether you can taste it or not. The Brulosophy did a whole video on that as well, and they said they could not tell the difference whether it's hop spider or not. It was not a statistical difference. Check out the hazy IPA. Oh my god, so good. It's still got good head retention on there. Oh my god, this is gonna be hard to not drink this whole keg like in the next like 2 weeks. So good, so good, so good. PC Carry, cheers, man. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for jumping on. Brew Day's been going good. We had like, I added some hops late in my second one. That's not a big deal. We're still making beer. I throw my hops right in. There's a little sink strainer over my pump inlet on my Robo Brew. Keeps my pump from getting clogged. Yep, there you go. There's more than one way to do it, man. However you need to do it. I just tried not to get some of the hop matter in my fermenter, but I used to do that too, and I used to make good beer then too. So either way, to each their own. I just got smashed with a couple of ads. I know, Bruce, I started doing ads on this one only, not on my regular days, right? So on my regular live days, I'm going to actually do ad-free. This one specifically, I'm not doing ad-free because it is going to be on my channel for a while. Instead of my normal live days, those are a channel member perk. You can go back and watch all my live videos, but I just leave them up for a week and then I go members only, right? And for these, I'm going to leave up more often because I want people to be able to brew this beer even if they are not a channel member. So I did turn on ads for this one. So if people have been getting ads, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. I also want this to be on the channel longer, so it just add revenue. But for the rest of my lives, every other live that's going to be on every other Sunday night, no ads. But you will get them probably today. So what I did find out was that I can mess with that a little bit, and I did try to turn that down a little bit, just so you know. Some people like put it really high where they're getting ads all the time. Some people put like medium. There's a low option, and so I tried to do that for this one. So hopefully people aren't getting smashed too much with ads. I use YouTube Premium too, so I kind of forget about that because we don't get the ads at YouTube Premium. So that's always another option too, is just signing up for YouTube Premium. Let's see, fish all ducks like, oh, the ducks like the hot matter. Yeah, dogs do not. They're bad for dogs, so don't give them dogs. By the way, if you do, I use sometimes I'll do my old hop grains in that. Oh, speaking of, hold on. I just realized I had my grain still sitting out there, and there's like a gajillion flies around it. So I just put it outside for a second so I can drain those in just a second. Holy cow. Clawhammer streams are polluted with ads, big unskippable ones. Oh man, that stinks. Yeah, they have more viewers and stuff too. So I wonder if YouTube just knows they do that, so they just like keep pressing them. All right. So by the way, you probably saw me. I dumped a little bit of bucket of some of the wort in there because the wort was sitting in my bucket for a little bit, but that's like the sweetest portion of the wort. So I want to make sure that's in there. I didn't have that part for my test that I did, my pre-boil test. So I probably would have been over efficiency even more than I was. So, oh well, we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. I didn't want to affect the overall volume though, because there was quite a bit in there. So let's see. We got Cascade, half an ounce, going in at 1 minute, which is flame out, which is about 3, 4, or 5 minutes away. When I poured that last little bit in, it cooled it down for a little bit. So I'm just going to wait a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm going to actually go and hook up my hose and my cooling stuff. So what I do is I have a hose that I use. It's just like an end of a hose, like this one. And I just hook this to the end of my thing and I run it out to my driveway. Now I will collect like the first little bit right away as I start it because it's warm. And I'll put it in a bucket and then I'll use that to reheat and clean my system afterwards. But then I'll just let it kind of run down the driveway after that. But then the hose is coming from an outdoor hose that just has a quick connect that hooks to the plate chiller. So let me go hook up my cooling equipment since we're only a couple minutes away from starting to cool down. And then we'll add our last little flame out hops and we'll start to cool down and we'll weigh out our US-05. All right, where are we at? We're getting there. Okay, so we are at 241. We're going to shut off the heat. We are done with the boil. We're going to add our half-ounce flame out hops, basically. Cascade. Those Cascade hops. We're going to give it a good stir around, and then we're going to start cooling this thing down. I hooked up my water. It's running. All right, make sure that water is still cooling down. I've got a hose already connected to my plate chiller. Claw hammer actually gives you this little clamp thing to be able to clamp it up to the top, which is awesome. We're going to close, make sure my valve is open to that one. And then we're going to start my pump. Might need a second to get through all that. There it goes. Yep. All right, so we are starting to pump. We have the last bit of our Cascade hops that we just poured in there. I got to get my USO5 going. You can see the temperature is already starting to drop on my thing here. I'm going to actually fill up a quick bucket of the warmest water as it's coming out here, just so I can brew with or clean with it. And then I'm going to grab my USO5. We're going to start measuring that stuff out. All right. We got that going. I got 5 gallons of the warmest water as it's starting to recirculate through. I got that going into a bucket so we could use that for cleaning. Save some water, right? We don't have to fill that from the hose later. And it's already kind of warm, so it won't take as much time to heat up. I also like to take my stuff out there and start rinsing these things off then, but I'll wait till later to do that because I could kind of do that whenever. We're kind of done using that for now. But I do need to weigh out some USO5 we're going to use to pitch our yeast. So while that's cooling down, it's already 150 or less-ish when we're getting in there. One thing I also like to do with this, if I have a bunch of hops, which I do in there, is start draining this. It's going to get kind of clogged up. So I actually use the same pulley system that I use for pulling the grains, and I just pull the hop spider up on it. So hold on. So that will let that hop spider kind of slowly drain out. There's a lot of liquid in there right now. And it'll slowly drain out as the wort is cooling down. It'll also help kind of cool it itself because it's not in there. All right, let that help that drain a little bit. All right, draining pretty good. I'm gonna go get another little container. We're gonna weigh out some of the USO5 yeast, so we're ready to start pitching when we get to that point. Leave any comments and questions and stuff. We'll go over those as we get back here and settle down a little bit. It's just been crazy at the end here because you're starting to cool down and move everything. So leave any questions, comments, that kind of stuff in the comment section. We'll go ahead in the chat and answer some questions when we get done. For those who are jumping on and are new to the channel, feel free to email me, cityscapebrew@gmail.com. I send out stickers like this one. You can support the channel by doing that, and also just sticking these somewhere. The little QR code gets people back to the channel, teaches people how to brew some good beer, and gets them back to the lives. Like right now, we can get some more people in here helping us out. So Shark Homebrewing, man, welcome. Thank you for jumping on. Yeah, so let's see who we got. Make sure I didn't miss anybody earlier. They used to make a thing called a hop blocker that had a strainer attached to the kettle outlet. Yeah, they make bazooka screens, which are also kind of the same thing. They're more for like bigger grains and maybe hop cones more than anything else, but they do get clogged too. So there's, you just kind of have to figure out a way that works for you on this kind of stuff. Great move. Save hot water for cleaning. Yes. The more you can do that. Some people I saw a video where they actually took their water and they put it in a wash machine because their wash machine was outside in their garage. They must live in somewhere like super, super warm, but or maybe it was just inside the mudroom or something like that. And they ran a hose and filled their wash machine with it so they could use a whole like load of wash. That's brilliant. Kind of, okay, cool. Awesome hazy video. This one's the next one coming out on the channel. I'm not going to ruin all the goodness for you guys, but it is fantastic. Okay, let me grab another thing. We're gonna get this USO5 yeast cut open, grab some grain things out of that. Usually I would have just a little small packet, but I've got way too much USO5 than any one person should have. So I'm gonna vacuum seal that back up after I get done getting about 13, 14 grams out of it. One sec. All right, got a little cup. I'm gonna set this scale I got. Again, you can get this in my homebrew Amazon store. It doesn't cost you anything else. It just helps support the channel, right? You can get this little guy. It also told me that it is unsettled and to set it down and stop being weird. All right, so we're going to go to grams. Normally, one of the grams of USO5 or packets of USO5 is 11.5 grams, I believe. So like a couple of these packets. This one is 10 grams. The soft lager's 11.5 grams. So I'm going to say because soft lager is the same as fermentus, that they probably do the same amount in their USO5. I don't surprisingly have any more USO5 packets. Usually I have a bunch of those too, but because I have a whole brick of this stuff or half a brick, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to cut the smallest little corner off this thing, and then I'm going to pour about 14 grams just to have a little extra because I don't know how fresh this stuff is. It's been opened. I've also like gave some to friends and that kind of stuff. So I just don't want it to be. I want to like give it a little extra go. So we'll pour 14 grams in here. Perfect. 14 to the nose. And then I'm going to go ahead and before I get too far along, real quick, while this is cooling down, I'm going to go ahead and vacuum seal this real quick because I really want this to be vacuum sealed more than anything else. So let me go do that real quick. I have my little cup of USO5 here ready and raring to go. and I'll be back in just 1 second after I vacuum seal this. Give me 2 seconds. All right, re-vacuum sealed. Grab some cleaner. I also have a fermenter in there that I'm rinsing out of. There's the star sand, so I forgot about that until just now too. But we are back. I'm very, very sorry for taking all the time in the world and leaving you guys. But anyway, so we got I got some PBW tablets. These are not ones that I normally use, but I got them kind of as a little gift at HomebrewCon. I probably have enough to clean. Yeah, there's like 4 per gallon. I think you use in these things, so it's 4, 6, 8. Yeah, I should have enough to do like 3, 4 gallons of PBW tablets. And then I got my yeast all ready to go. We are cooling down. The thing you're seeing hanging there is my hop spider with extra hops in there. There's some liquid left in there, so I'm going to try to get that out of there. It says it is at 95-ish. Probably cooler coming through the actual plate chiller at this point. I'm going to uh, get my fermenter, and I'll be right back over to try to get this transferred in there. All right, sanitize, fermenter, check. Hop spider, basically done, check. All right, so we're gonna start transferring this thing into our fermenter. I'm gonna drink my last little bit of hazy. Got my lid off my fermenter. I usually take the leftover star sand that I used to sanitize the fermenter and just put it in a bucket because we're going to use that later for something else. Don't fear the foam. Tons of foam in there. Not a problem. I do put the lid on right after I do this, but I splash the thing around a little bit as I put this in from the hose. So I'll kind of show you guys how I do that. All right, and we are in our fermenter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a tilt hydrometer, which I still need to do. I'm not necessarily going to pitch my yeast just yet because it is pretty warm outside. So I want to make sure that my yeast is, or my temperature of my fermentation chamber here is into the 70s. I have some stuff that's in there right now I need to kind of clean out. So I'm going to swap this in there. So I'm not going to pitch that quite yet. I want to make sure that, again, mid 70s ish, I can pitch USO5. By the time it actually gets down, it'll take off. USO5 is one that kind of lags a little bit as far as yeast is concerned. Some take off within like an hour. Others, like USO5, take several hours to kind of replicate and kind of do their thing. So I'm going to probably pitch this probably 72-ish. This one will be 67 degrees fermentation temperature in my fermentation chamber. That's the biggest thing for the new people. Make sure you use fermentation temperature control. Let me grab my hydrometer or tilt hydrometer, throw it in there, see where we're at real quick, and then we'll go from there. So 1 second. Bruce said, Gaffel Kolsch is my fave. I love Kolsch. Fruit is a bit fruitier with moderate grain aroma flavor. Less hop aroma, but more graininess for the Reisdorf. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know that I have the Reisdorf when I was there. I can't remember. I had a bunch of different Kolsches, but I can't remember which ones I have. I would eagerly drink a lot of either. Good to know, Paul. Good to know, Paul. By the way, Paul's the reason we're doing this live brew day. Give him a shout out. Woohoo! He is the guy that supplied all the ingredients for the brew day today. So, Paul, you're awesome. 1 second here. I'm going to grab my tilt hydrometer, get this thing going. Don't get in my bucket of star sand here. And then in we go. Then I'm going to see where we're at temperature wise. I can tell. Actually, I stopped using the Tilt Pico for a little while. I went back to just using my regular tilt hydrometers with my Tilt Pi. It seems to be a little better as far as just not having as many troubles or issues when I do it. I like the idea of the Tilt Pico. It just was going to be a pain in the butt to try to log something each time. And I was like, I like that. I just throw this in here. It's already on my tilt hydrometer. So if you look at the screen share here, I can already tell like it's so far 74. It's got to warm up a little bit. It's probably higher than that. And it says it's at 1061. We're going to do a hydrometer reading to like see where we're at. That's a little higher than we probably need to be. It's at 1058 on my sheet, I believe. Yeah, 1058 on there. So it says it's a little high. It might just because of the temperature and other things, and I just dropped it in there. So let me just see. Where's my... Oh, I brought my hydrometer or my refractometer inside to clean. Let me grab it real quick. We're going to pull a refractometer reading, see where we're at in comparison to what the tilt says it's at. And then we're going to wait till this thing cools down a little bit. I'll throw this in the fermentation chamber. All right, refractometer all cleaned up. Get a little sample-y sample. All right. So let me explain what I just did. So I have my fermentation chamber. I just set to 67. It was down at like the upper 30s for like refrigeration temperature because I was refrigerating some beers and stuff, which I put on the ground. You probably saw me all take those out. That is, I need to put those in the other fridge. So I'll do that. I took a refractometer reading here. We're going to do that. See where we're at. Again, the tilt says set actually 162 as it's cooling down. And that is exactly where my refractometer is. It actually says 161, right between 161 and 162. So as it kind of cools down, that's probably right. I'm a little bit high on the efficiency, which is just fine. So we probably got more like 75% efficiency on this one. Not a big deal. It's just going to be a little bit more ABV. Oh, well. With this one, we'll let this one cool down. It says it's at, the tilt says at 79 degrees. I don't want to pitch this yeast yet. It's going to be too hot for that just yet. So when we get a little bit closer to 72-ish, actually just click to 80. So it's still cooling down. This thing is kicking on. It's cooling it down. It won't take long for this fermentation chamber to like cool it down. It's a freezer normally, right? So it's doing that. I don't touch it against the walls on the outside because I don't want it to like have hot and cold spots. But I do tuck the temperature probe from the Inkbird into the harness on the outside. So it's just touching the edge of the beer. I don't want it to be above the beer in the dead space. I want it to be next to the beer. So I tuck it next to the beer in the harness. It stays there away from the heat element a little bit. And then I have the heat element, which is a lizard lamp in there as well. So what I do is just wait until this gets done. Fester all day. Does the channel get more money if I don't skip ads? No, you can skip ads. The ads it's per ad you see, and it's the first part of the ad before you skip it that makes the money. So if you skip it, doesn't really matter if you skip it or not. I think it's just the number of ads you see, and because you skipped it, doesn't matter. If you were interested in that ad, you would keep it going, right? Or at least hear it. So in the first 10 seconds, they should tell you what their thing is and why they want you to do whatever it is they do for their ad. That's on them. So it doesn't matter if you skip them or not. That's at least how I understand it. Try putting the temp probe in a glass of water. Yeah, you could. The problem is that right away, the glass of water works when it's all the same temperature at the end, right? But at the beginning, it'll take a while before that cools down, especially the heat stuff. So what happens is just like submerging the temperature probe in your beer, it'll take the long term to actually like cool down the water or the beer to actually get to the probe. So you'll overheat the outside versus the inside. Now, if everything after like a couple of days is even, then it's easier to do that because now it's like whatever. But what happens is if the probe can't turn off and on easily because it's submerged in something, you'll get bigger temperature swings inside of the fermentation chamber itself. So I don't put it in anything. I've heard people put it like between a sponge on the outside. That might be the most I would ever do. Some people just tape it to the fermenter. Totally fine doing that too. I just tuck it in between the harness and it stays almost exact within 2 degrees all the time. But the problem is that if you have it submerged in something, it has to heat up so much that people were talking about melting stuff inside of their fermentation chamber because of the heat, or vice versa, freezing stuff because it won't get cold enough to the temperature probe until stuff is like already freezing around it. So you won't get the swings. That's a great, great question. A lot of things I get a lot of questions about is that. So do not submerge the probe in anything. It will take longer for that to happen. Now, again, if you put a glass of water in there first and everything is the same, then it's less likely to do that. But I don't do that at all. I put it right against the fermenter. Done. Yeah, these chest freezers are awesome. And you know what I like about them the most is that I can use them for something else. Like when I'm not fermenting beers like I was using it as a refrigerator because I can turn it down to refrigerator temps. But also I can just plug it in and use it as a freezer if I have a bunch of extra freezer stuff I need to put in here because it's also a freezer, right? But you also want to use it the whole time. You don't want to unplug it at all. That's the one thing you don't want to do with a chest freezer. If you're using it as a fermentation chamber, don't unplug it and let it open and just like let it sit open because you think you're saving money. You'll dry out the O-rings and stuff in the compressor. You don't want to do that. You want to just leave it running and let it work. Let it do its thing. Just let it cool. It doesn't use as much as you think it does. If you want to leave it open, you can, but then you risk drying out those O-rings and stuff in the compressor. I've done that I had to add Freon. It sucked. It's a whole deal. So anyway, we're at 81 degrees. I'm going to start cleaning all this stuff up. I am going to have a beer when I do that, but I am going to be away from the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the live feed for today. I appreciate everybody jumping on and joining me. In 2 weeks, we're not going to have a live feed tomorrow. In 2 weeks, we're going to do another BJCP style guideline. I'm just going to pick one since we didn't talk about it today. And we'll probably, let's just do American IPA. American IPA, that's Bell's Two Hearted, West Coast IPA, American West Coast IPA. That one will be an awesome one to do. We haven't done that one yet, and we'll do that one in 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks from tomorrow, which is the 5th. So September 5th, we will do a live. No, excuse me, not the 5th. It'll be the 6th because that'll be Sunday. Sunday the 6th. It'll be 2 weeks from tomorrow, so the 6th. We'll do American IPA, and that'll be BJCP. I'm going to try to get a guest for that one too. But by then, we should at least have a good idea of how this one's coming along. It won't be done yet, but it'll be coming along. I also do have another beer, though, that I haven't showed you guys. But by then, hopefully, our hazy IPA video will be out also. So keep on to the channel. Please like, subscribe, share, and become a channel member. Helps out a lot, you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you for jumping on today. We did a lot today. I'm sorry I was gone for like the last like half an hour trying to like mess with all this stuff, but it's hard to do a brew day without stepping away from the camera a little bit. But appreciate all you guys for jumping on. You guys are amazing. You guys are what makes the channel rock. Thank you guys for jumping on. Huge shout out to Paul, though, for supplying the beer ingredients. I will let you know, Paul, how this turns out. Everybody will see it in a couple weeks. I think it's going to turn out awesome. It looks good. Smells good. We hit our numbers. So here we go. Thank you guys again. I'm going to go clean up all this crap. I actually have a football game I'm going to with a friend of mine in about 45 minutes. So I'm going to try to get all this stuff done, go do that, have a couple beers, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for the live and have a different video out in between there. Cheers. And until then, happy brewing.